I need more score sheets. You don't have enough? But I have only have like 6 here. Okay. If you put those ones down, then I can go grab you some more. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you put those ones down right now, then I'll get someone to bring you up some more. Yeah. Okay, I have way too many. They're gonna be, I think they're gonna be harder. Oh, from Amber. And I'm very eager to figure out what this is.
Humor for lite today? Great, thank you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, don't forget to remind us verbally. We can't see.
Oh, I'm going to be loud.
Oh, then move you to the middle.
Yeah.
That's my spot. It's been my spot
Do you
all
prefer
week.
to be on the end? All right, fair enough. I don't care.
So I'll yell nice and loud.
No. Leave Chris here. I support him all.
Hello, John. How are you? Yeah.
Do you have everything?
Tried that before.
Are we going to see them?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in just a few minutes, so if you can find your seats. I'd also like to take the minute to ask you all to turn your phones either on silence, but preferably all the way off. Thank you.
Yeah, no biggie, Matt.
Oh, I've got the table legs. Oh, well. What's this piece of paper? Oh, this is the first set. All right. We need the team numbers. What's the room number? 4 or 11?
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah. No, I suppose not.
So if we're missing any chairs, unfortunately due to numbers, we're not able to have any standing audience. So there's an overflow room in 226 with the live feed. So if there's no seats available, feel free to go into the overflow room.
I don't know yet. Amber's gone to ask, I think. What do we put room number 5? Room number 411, I think this is. 411. Oh, good, okay. Yeah, the team number.
And this is their PowerPoint?
You take your pick.
Not at all.
Surprises.
Not at all. Yeah, they're gonna. I think it's gonna be brutal. Oh, I've seen Steve put it. So we put up our. Oh yeah, where's my name tag? No, a name tag. There's. You got it? What am I doing? Setting. Turn this on. We're good to go.
How many slides have they got here? 12, 36, 35. That's the first thing I look at.
My shrill voice isn't quite as nice.
No, actually, just feedback is good.
So everyone can hear me. Excellent.
Interesting. It looks like a team like one of the teams that is definitely here. Walking in the front. And that's the guy from Rruiucc. I think those were not behind us. I'm not certain. Three guys in there. Yeah, they do. It's a surprise, but interesting because if they've been able to give the other guys a chance, that's good.
Taking your idea and running with that.
Yeah.
Finding my little process here.
You don't need feedback on it.
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one judge yesterday whose main notes by every slide. And so when it came to question time, no feedback time, she wanted to run through with a comment on every goal slide. She only did it once.
Yeah, that would have taken 20 minutes.
Of course it would.
All right, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all here to the 11th annual Royal Roads University International Undergraduate Case Competition. I am one of two hosts. My name's Kelsey, and this is Donish. And we're so excited to welcome you all here, those of you who made it on campus, and those of you who are watching at home, welcome. As I mentioned, hopefully all phones are going to be turned either on silent or on off. Those of you who are at home, you can feel free to tweet us at hashtag RRUIUCC, and we'll be able to keep you in the conversation during the presentation gaps. So now I'm very proud to announce that we have 4 finalists of the 20 competing teams, and in no particular order they were drawn to present this afternoon. The first team is 3, followed by 13, 16, and 17. And I will now pass it on to Donish.
Thanks, Kelsey. Once again, thank you everyone for being here. First of all, we'd just like to give a quick thanks to our media support team who's set up our live stream and who've put together all the technical services here today. First, we'd like to thank Mike Dominy, who is the technical support for the event. I'd like to thank Dave Adams, who set up our live stream. And we'd like to thank Andre Rodrigue, who is in the back taking photos, and he's been around all week. Thank you, Andre. And at this moment, I'd like to thank all of our judges for being here and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to the room. So we'll pass you a mic.
Thank you. My name is Neville Grigg. I'm a Royal Roads MBA alumni, and for many years we've been sponsoring the case competition as Heritage Office Furnishings. This year we're excited to be unveiling our new brand, Agenda Office Interiors. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Hollins. I'm a local mortgage broker here in Victoria, doing residential and commercial.
I'm Chris Jones. I've been a management consultant for about 35 years, and I've been on the faculty here, Faculty of Business and the School of Leadership Studies for about 10 years. And I've also been a judge here for not as long as some of the people, but 7 or 8 years. I come back because I enjoy it.
I'm Brian Bowman. I run a company called Constant Improvement. We're facilitators for companies on continuous improvement issues and restructurings. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. My name is Greg Meiklejohn. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Enrollment Resources. Thank you.
And
Thank you again.
Just for those of you who are here, and if you'd like anyone else at your universities to watch our live stream, you can get it at www.livestream.com/royalroads.
Great, so at this time, Lawrence, please usher in team number 3, and we will read out the roles.
Good morning, welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy it. Congratulations on getting so far, guys. Well done. Good to see you.
Welcome. My name is Jeff. Hi. Mohammed, a pleasure.
So welcome team 3. Amber, who can maybe give a little wave, is going to be your official timekeeper for this presentation. The presentation can be a maximum of 20 minutes. There will be a visual warning for 5 minutes remaining and another for 1 minute remaining. There will then be a 10-minute question and answer period with a vocal 1 minute warning remaining in that as well. After which the judges will be escorted out. There will be a break of about 20 minutes between now and the next presentation. There's coffee and water, and you can have a seat in the atrium outside. You may begin.
The persistent economic downturn has led Beiersdorf to initiate a restructuring program in order to cut costs and grant subsidiaries more power. However, during the implementation of this program, a few difficulties have arisen, and we're here today to look at why these difficulties have arisen and how we can address them. Good afternoon, Mr. Heidenmick. My name is Scott. I'm here with my colleagues Jeff, Gordon, and Mohammed, and together, as Innovate Consulting, our goal for you is to restore confidence to effectively lead Beiersdorf's restructuring. We've identified the key primary issue is confidence. Confidence with your employees, confidence with your investors, and confidence with the board members, with the subsidiary issues of the economic situation and the restructuring plan. Through our Innovate strategy called the Mmxiii Family, we are going to show you how you can restore confidence with the board members, the investors, and the employees to not only initiate this restructuring plan successfully to cut costs, but be a successful leader in the skincare market. So we're going to leave you with that Innovate impact of restored confidence for successful restructuring for future sustainable growth.
So the internal heir, Marcus, has left your company. What impact does it have on your firm and your office today and tomorrow? So as you can see, Stefan Heinrich was appointed as the CEO as of April 26, 2012. It's time for him to step in and restore that confidence to your company, the investors, and the employees within. With over 17,000 employees in your firm, Stefan must not only react, but he must act and take action in order to implement these changes for your company to have a long and sustainable future. So let's take a look at some of the issues that have been arisen today after the departure and before tomorrow, the press conference where Stefan can step in and implement that new confidence. So there was an economic situation not only in North America, but also in Europe with the Greece bankruptcy. There's also been the sea bonds, which has not gone out as planned and resulted in closing down a lot of factories and shops, as well as laying off a lot of Chinese employees. Finally, the restructuring plan is in question. Is it a sound plan? And investors want to know, when is it going to have a financial impact on their shares and their earnings? This leads to lower board confidence, investor confidence, as well as employee confidence within the organization. And if we can increase and restore confidence to address the economic situation and growth, our restructuring plan will work beautifully in order for us to gain future financial impacts that are positive. So let's take a look at who owns Beiersdorf. Who owns and what are we working towards and helping? And that's Mmxiii, who owns over 51% of the company. Beiersdorf owns only 9.99%, which is estimated as 10%, and the market has 39% floating shares on the DAX. This means the majority of the ownership is to public owners, and there's an obligation to increase the shareholders' wealth. They are looking for a return on investment, whether it's on a short-term basis or a long-term basis. And that shareholders' wealth can come in two parts. The first is dividends. Your company has sustained consistent dividends, which is a huge strength on your part. However, as earnings per share declines, questions about consistent dividends in the long-term future could be addressed. Second, capital gain is another way shareholders can gain money. They can invest and sell the share at a higher price. And as you can see from your share price at the year-end closing price, it is volatile and something that investors care about, not only returns, but also the risk they have to incur to gain that return. Those are both very important things investors have to look at. And also, if we take a look at our margin trend, as you can see, the gross margin, which reviews sales minus cost of goods sold, has relatively been stable and have been above the 60% mark. However, the EBIT margin has decreased by almost half, dropping to 7% from 14%. That indicates a lot of the costs we are facing are not in the raw materials, but instead they're in administration and other operating expenses. What's even better than revenue growth for investors is profitability, the bottom line. If you can lower costs and increase these bottom lines for your investors, they can have more shareholders' wealth. Revenues do play a part, but they're not everything. So let's take a look at the business cycle. As we know, business and the market operates in a cycle. They go up and sometimes they go down, and it revolves around. What we can see is since your company has 941 million euros in their cash account, that cannot just be left uninvested unused and not used for expansion at all. So we recommend your company can spend some of that money on marketable securities, buy at a lower price, and sell it as a higher price as the economy is going up. Now, the Dow Jones has been at an all-time high over the last few months, and that means that the economy is going up. And what really benefits your company is if you look at the TSX, after Canadian employment report came out, they've been taking a beating over the last 5 days, and that means their stocks are priced lower than they should be in the long run. If it's a long run investment, you can buy low and sell higher, and when the confidence is regained in your company, you can use those gains to fund your expansion in the future. So we believe the returns from growth investment will be less than the returns from the market today, and that money should be used on the market, and the money could be used later when it has gained value and put into expansion. So the issues I have left you guys with today that we must solve by tomorrow morning is the primary issue of how to address confidence. And with new confidence, we can address the issues of the economic situation and the restructuring plan and how it can impact your company in the upcoming years.
Thank you. So how are we going to allow your company to reach its mission of becoming the world's biggest consumer product in skincare? We have identified 3 alternatives for you, and I'll walk you through each one of them. The first one is to continue on your current strategic path of downsizing. The next one will be to pursue a growth strategy in the Asian market, or you could continue to invest in your products and innovate new products in order to be competitive in the marketplace. Looking at a little bit more detail for each of these alternatives, the first one of continued downsizing is specifically reducing your costs and giving more authority to the different regions in order for them to be more effective in this respective regions. The benefit of this is you're going to be increasing profitability by reducing costs, and you'll be more competitive in those regions because those region managers know their market better than a headquarter would. The cost associated with this is that you're going to be losing some shareholder confidence when you start some stakeholder confidence when you lay off some employees in order to accomplish this downsizing. The next alternative of pursuing growth in the Asian market. The Asian market is one of the biggest consumer products for skin and hair products. It has over 51% market share, and it's a great opportunity for your company. And that is one of the pros with this alternative. The cons associated with it is the high amount of investment you need to put in this market in order to build your stronghold and be able to be competitive in that market. And also with the recent issue of C-bonds, you have lost the confidence of your stakeholders in knowing that whether you are able to implement that action plan, and you've also lost the confidence of the consumers in the Asian market by not being able to supply them with your products continuously through C-bonds. The third alternative of investing in R&D, this is really good because it aligns with your core competencies. This is a key tactic that you have been using for the past 100 years in order to stay competitive in the marketplace. The cons associated with that is a long R&D cycle. It will probably take a couple years in order to make a product that will allow you to get sustainable growth out of. And another one is there's no guarantee that if you spend all this money on R&D, you'll get a product that consumers want and will lead to that sustainable growth. To evaluate each of these alternatives, we have came up with 4 decision criteria. The first one is a strategic focus. With any recommendation, we wanted to make sure it's a strategic one and it aligns with your company's core competencies of excellence in consumer care, in consumer skincare products, and in product R&D. The next one, with confidence, as my colleague Jeffrey stressed, you have lost the confidence of your employees, your board of directors, and your stakeholders. And we want to make sure the alternatives allow you to regain that confidence in order to stay united and be competitive in the marketplace. Feasibility, of course, we want to make the alternative as realistic and feasible for you as possible. And finally, economic condition in Europe. Right now, Europe is going through a downturn in the economy, and we want to somehow address that through our recommendation. Here is our decision matrix. And as you could see, we decided to continue on the current path that you have chosen for downsizing. With regard to the Asian market, even though it has such a good marketplace to go to, we don't believe your company is able to execute and implement the plan effectively. until you downsize. When you downsize, you could set up a single SBU responsible for the Chinese market, for example, and they will have responsibility for R&D, product development for that specific target market, and will allow you to successfully implement that plan. With product R&D, you're already doing that. And if you want to rely solely on that as a growth strategy, we believe that could be quite challenging because of the cons I listed. And you should continue with the current R&D process that you're doing, but you shouldn't focus on it for a sole growth strategy. So this is why we are recommending you to continue with your restructuring plan. It aligns with your core competency, it's feasible, and it addresses the economic downturn by lowering your costs and staying competitive. So our recommendation will specifically be looking on how to increase that confidence in your stakeholders while pursuing that strategy.
So moving on to the recommendation today, I would like to introduce you to the Beiersdorf family. What exactly is the Beiersdorf family? The Beiersdorf family is made up of the board members, the employees, and the investors, together to restore that confidence in the restructuring program that we have already seen is sound. And you, Mr. Heidenreich, can come in, part of that family, and generate this new atmosphere within the Nivea family. So if we take a look at the restructuring barriers currently facing Beiersdorf, we can see that the lack of confidence is blocking the restructuring program from being successfully implemented. However, we feel that we can cut that confidence and build that confidence back up through the three facets of the Beiersdorf family. The three facets are board members, investors, and employees. The first one being board members. We feel that you, Mr. Heidenreich, can come in and build the confidence with the board members through our Teach the CEO program. We then can move in and build confidence with the investors through press conferences and being extremely transparent. And finally, we need to build confidence with the employees in order for them to feel like they're part of this Beiersdorf family as well. We feel we can do that through being transparent and providing them guarantees on their employment. So looking at the board, first and foremost, Mr. Heidenreich, when you go into that board meeting tomorrow morning, you need to introduce yourself and explain the Teach the CEO program. What the Teach the CEO program is you're going to look at these other board members and ask them for their expertise in their programs. You're going to look at them and understand what each one of their jobs is and take in some of that atmosphere that already exists at the Beiersdorf family. We understand that because you're coming in from an external source, which is not through the regular way that Beiersdorf hires their CEOs. We feel that there may be a learning curve that is required in order to be effective in that atmosphere. We're recommending at least 7 days for the Teach the CEO program to learn the company and be effective in that environment. Moving on to the investor. Now we know that the investors, as my colleague Jeff has pointed out, are largely public, and we need to make sure that they understand that the restructuring program is happening and what exactly it entails. The first thing we need to set up is a meeting with Mmxiii, the largest stakeholder within Beiersdorf. We feel that setting up a personal meeting with Mmxiii will be very effective in explaining the plan and being transparent about the restructuring program. From there, we want to hold a general press release conference for the rest of the public shareholders in order to answer any questions that they may have. In order for this to be successful, we feel that you need to create a report about the restructuring program in order for it to be fully explained in detail. Moving on to the employees, we understand that in order to downsize, there has to be some employee layoffs, as well as some other cuts in other areas as well. We understand that having layoffs within any company can generate a negative atmosphere with the employees. In order to address this lack of confidence, we need to send out a monthly memo that explains the restructuring updates to the employees as well. And we feel that a personalized message from the board in this area could help soften things as well. This is also the point that we want to include a feedback loop to involve those employees in the decision-making process in order to hear what they have to say. And specifically, we want to include some layoff guarantees in order to have security for those employees in the short term. We want to guarantee an employee an equivalent of 6 months of employment or 6 months paid in order to have them have the confidence in Beiersdorf and the Beiersdorf family. We also want to put in a rehiring guarantee in order to make sure that they have first dibs if they are able to come up for rehire. So altogether, we can see how the Innovate strategy of the Nivea family addresses the core issue of confidence with the board members, the investors, and the employees to help address the economic situation and show you how to successfully implement that restructuring plan, which we have already seen is very sound. We are going to leave you with that innovate impact of restored confidence for successful growth and restructuring into the future. But Mr. Heinemund, what are you going to do tomorrow?
That is a great question, Scott. And if you were to ask great philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli, he would tell you to play the fox. Be sly and be cunning and gain that investor confidence and employee confidence and board confidence so that you can move into the future. So we, in our implementation plan, have outlined for you what to do tomorrow. You will introduce yourself tomorrow at the board meeting. You will tell the board members that you will have a 7-day minimum learning period where you will learn the company culture, environment, how the operations work as you are coming from an external source. And you will call for a meeting next week, again, to really have a mutual relationship and take in their ideas as well in order to develop the best strategy moving forward. In terms of the investor confidence, we want you to also set the press conference for next week so that you can tell your investors, Max Invest and the public investors, that about your strategic plan that you've developed with your board members so that you can move forward into the future. So, Scott has talked about the strategic focus of restructuring and the barrier of lack of confidence that will not allow us to get to the ultimate goal of cutting those costs and building a lean company by trimming the fat. However, with the plan that we have outlined for you today, we believe that you can restore this confidence so that you can get to the point where you can build that lean company and move forward into the future and grow your company further. So let's take a look at the timelines and milestones that we've outlined for you. Well, we talked about what to do for tomorrow, and which includes initial meeting and then going into early next month with Teacher CEO. And in terms of press conferences, we want to set up the meeting with Max Invest, which owns over 50% of your company, the public press conference, creating a report, and having more press conferences to show that transparency to your investors who own about 90% of your company and build that confidence with your investors. And then with the transparency session to do with the employees and gaining their trust as well, we want to incorporate the monthly memo, giving it through an email and letting them know what's going on at Beiersdorf, and also sending out the employee guarantee of that 6-month implementation plan to make sure that they get either six-month notice of hiring or pay. So the milestones we've set is that the initial meeting should happen before the end of the month, this April. The press conferences will be held in June, and the employee guarantee is sent by May. Now, we've talked about what to do next week and in short term the next 6 months, but what about long term? Well, my colleague Jeffrey has talked about the investing in marketable securities. And as Mohammed said, right now is the time of a slight economic downturn in Europe. So we want to invest in these marketable securities, buy low, and then hold them for when the business cycle comes around, the market comes around, and sell high, so that you can have that return on investment, and then look into R&D into the Asian-specific products, like my colleague Mohammed has mentioned before, is a great option by creating the SBU and going into the Asian market. So the financial impact you can see here, there was a dip until 2012, but with that dip comes the investor confidence that will happen tomorrow and into the future, so that you can potentially gain those said profits on the screen you can see right here, and look at 400 million euros profit by 2015. Some potential obstacles we've shown here for you, the most moderate one being the restructuring efforts, which we have mitigated by the employee feedback, and some others that we also had mitigation for. So in summary, we like to say that first thing you need to do before anything else is get that confidence from the Beiersdorf family. And through this, you'll be able to get this confidence and build up this family so it can be strong, a lean family into the future, and gain that confidence, move on, and be successful. On behalf of Innovate Consulting, my name is Gordon Zhang, and I thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and we will now open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
I'm sorry, at this time, Amber, if you can just start the clock, and whenever judges, whenever you're ready, we have 10 minutes and then a 1-minute verbal warning.
You stated that my first priority is to build confidence. So I'm going to go out on stage and say, give me a week while I learn the job, and then I'll tell you where I'm going to take the company.
We see the Teach the CEO program as a little bit more of a reciprocal relationship. We really want you, Mr. Heinrich, and also the board members to be involved with each other as a teaching and learning experience. We know that you have had lots of wonderful experience with your implementation strategy.
I was hired as a man of action to come in, take charge of this problem, and get the job done. How do I communicate that to the shareholders during this annual general meeting? I'm about to walk out on stage. I don't have a week.
You have demonstrated action right away by starting the press conference on day one day after you've been appointed by CEO. The second is you're showing more transparency than before. We are going to take action. We're not only going to involve the board, but our internal employees, as well as stating that our shareholders, whether it's Mmxiii or the public shares in the market, do matter, and we are going to work.
The second tangible recommendation that you give me is to take the cash that we have and invest it in other companies. How does that develop confidence for my shareholders?
What we're saying is that the money we need, we're not looking to expand in the future right now. We have some confidence issues that we do want to solve within the next year or two. That being said, we do not want to be holding 941 million euros on our account, money doing nothing. We want some sort of gain, and we believe going into marketable securities, much like other companies like Google has done, to hold their cash accounts is a great idea, because with that amount of cash, we can hold it for as long as we need to before we realize the profits. So if the market goes down, we still have to realize the loss.
Yeah. What you're asking of us is to abandon the 100 years of history we have of successful research and development in skincare and risk it on the open market where if the economic downturn persists, we're just going to hold those stocks longer. And meanwhile, we've got a strong stock of our own. Maybe is it possible we should buy our own stock back? Maybe there's some research and development we can buy elsewhere. Maybe there's another company somewhere we can buy.
So I'll be more than happy to answer the first part of your question, and my colleague Jeffrey could expand on the second part. But with regard to the 100 years of R&D that you have done, we are asking you to focus on your core competencies, on your core product lines, and make it better for customers, and increase your market share using those core products. So we're not telling you to abandon those, but rather focus more specifically on them in order to expand your market share in what you're good at.
And to answer the second part of that question, with marketable securities, you do not have to invest the full 941 million euros. And the second part is you should buy some of your shares back, and that will boost confidence to investors. They will see that you believe your stock is undervalued and will be valued higher in the future, and they will want to purchase and take forward the step that you have taken as well.
Yeah, I can see that. It's interesting the three of us are focused on that market investment right now. Right at the end of the presentation, I think probably all of us think it may be a mistake. You've got a big boom now and it will pop. Not if stands or bots, it will pop. The only question is when. Yeah, and by buying your own shares, you are likely to create more confidence in your own shareholders, and by investing in other people's shares, you're likely to create less confidence in those shareholders. So I think it's an interesting point. Just a couple of questions I had. I don't think you ever mentioned what one of my colleagues referred to as the Chinese train wreck. You've got a lot of money invested in there. Do you have a feeling about that, or what to do with it, or what its impact is on the company when you look at the numbers?
You rephrase that question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big part of the organization that's been invested in China, and it's full of low sales, full markets, and everything else. Yet, certain things appear, perhaps, if you back that out of the financial statements that are there, and you focus and you think more about what would happen if we didn't have it. I wondered whether you had any particular advice that, first of all, whether I should look at that now or later, and secondly, if you've any view on it, what might I do to that?
So I'll answer the first part of the question of what we feel is going on with China. there is a lot of opportunity there, and what stopped us from getting huge sales growth and why C-Bonds had low sales growth was the inability to compete with international brands, because we did operate under the C-Bonds brand. So that is something we can look to in the future when we come back and solve our confidence issues, have the confidence reinstated, have capital put into R&D and move to the Asian market. It is a large segment, and we feel that's more of a future plan as we have an urgent plan of building confidence in the upcoming days.
Okay, thank you. Good. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, by the way. I have a question for you. I'm a CEO. You've asked me to come in and fix this company, and you're asking them to teach me over the next 7 days the company. Isn't it the other way around? Shouldn't I be teaching them? Because if all I do is repeat the behavior they've done, I think there was a term for that once called insanity, because you're going to get the same result. So if I'm a man of action, why are you asking me to be taught by them? That's fine, but when am I teaching them, and why is there no strategy session?
Definitely. Like I said before, Nicola Machiavelli had the options of playing lion or playing fox. Of course,
hold on. I've got no confidence.
Yeah.
Playing a fox and playing slick here isn't going to work. How am I going to inspire confidence by being a slickster?
So if you go into the boardroom tomorrow and tell everyone, this is what you're going to do from now, and just listen to me.
Okay.
Your board members would probably listen to you because of your authority, but you won't build that confidence in order to be able to work together in order to come out of this.
Why do I need to build their confidence with results.
So with the 7-day teaching plan, it's not just you learning, it's communicating with them, building the connections, knowing what their routines are like, and you could comment on what they're doing and how they could improve as well.
So tell me why I wouldn't lock them in an island somewhere and all of us bang heads for the next 14 days so we figure something out? Why would I sit and listen to them for 7 days when they're putting the company under?
We do understand that you're coming from an external source as well, since we do feel that there is a necessary amount of learning within the company culture and the processes that are going on within yourself.
So let's assume the company culture is broken. That's what I'm here for. Why am I being so timid? Please tell me.
The company that you just have entered has 100 years of culture built behind it.
Yeah, and it's going to a trustee the way it's going. So I've got a money-losing country. One of your other recommendations that really confuses me is you want me to disconnect control to the outer countries in part of your presentation. I'm a little puzzled by that. They're losing money. They don't know what they're doing, and you want me to divest control to them. Can you please explain that?
So to be competitive in the global market, as if you have a headquarters and have one ruling authority, you won't be as flexible enough to adapt to the changing environment. By giving authority to the managers of the regional areas, those managers will be able to adapt to those changing environments.
Thank you.
Good presentation, you guys. So, I'm a man of action. I've been hired by the primary investor, the board. They know my reputation. They know my history. And yet you as my coaches are going and advising me to go in the opposite direction and to turtle. My question to you is, amongst your three alternatives, there's nothing in there around a fourth alternative, which is to drive for market share. There are clearly hundreds of markets around the world where Nivea and other products that we carry are underutilized at a distribution level. And it's clearly that through our excellent R&D, we have excellent line extension off of our core winning brand.
There's 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. So explain to me, give me some comfort as to why you've completely eliminated that as an option when most Fortune 500 companies would have that as a central platform to build confidence. Who wants to explain that?
So we see the product line extension as well as the market development as going against the core values of media. We do see the downsizing and focusing on the core elements of R&D and the single product line more effective in achieving those growth.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else want to take another crack at my question?
As I stated before, we don't believe the return on the growth investment will be as high as the return you'll gain on the market right now. The reason being is if you were to expand with internal issues of HR and the job protests going on, that can be very difficult to do, and we believe it is safer to move with that alignment and come back to it in the future years. You can consider re-expansion in less than 2 years in 2014 and 2015.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent job, Team 3. At this time, the judges will be exiting this room. Everyone else is welcome to stay. Again, there's a 20-minute break from now until the next presentation. There's coffee and water available in the atrium over towards that side of the room. Thank you. All right, who's been on Twitter? Anybody underneath their chair? There's some action going on Twitter. Lots of questions about Donish's outfit today. Yes, it is very expensive. He was once very overpaid. Now he's a broke student. But yeah, any other questions on Twitter? Hashtag Rruiucc. And those of you on video feed right now, we will be returning in 20 minutes for the next presentation.
Don't you live in West Vancouver? I'm from Surrey, so there's no way that I got paid more than you.
Oh, we're razzing now, are we? Okay, I see how it is. Where are you going? Where are you going? I think so. We've got some time to kill. How was that, everyone? Feel the room? A little stressful? Man, those judges, I don't know. Pretty intense. Let's see if we've got any tweets that we can read out for everyone.
I know Marco was giving us a play-by-play commentary. Where are you, Marco?
Is Marco in the room, or is he
Gone.
in the... There you are. Hey, Marco. He's going hashtag Rruiucc cray. By all means, feel free.
Where's Cal Jackson? Cal in the room? Oh, right behind, right next to Marco. You both troublemakers are sitting together. Okay, right on.
Tweet from Lauren. Tough, but well done. Very true, very true.
Yeah, 1 sec.
Anybody viewing in the overflow room and you're seeing us on live feed, send us a tweet and let us know how it's going over there. Anybody at home watching from abroad, give us a shout on Twitter, hashtag Rruiucc, and we will be right back.
Mine's simple.
We just want to take this opportunity to welcome our friends from Concordia who are watching us on a live stream, the organizing committee at JMUC, at John Molson University Undergraduate Case Competition. Welcome to the Royal Roads competition. I know we did a case in Montreal very similar to the one that is being presented right now. So Concordia, the John Molson School of Business, was losing it and blowing up our phones thinking that we had duplicated the case and just given it out right now. So Guillaume, don't worry, it's a different case. It's an Ivy case. It's we respect copyright laws, but Nivea is starting to haunt our dreams a little bit here.
Yeah, that was a tweet from Matt, and he tweeted, hashtag Nivea is haunting the case competition world. Hashtag JMAC finals and RRUIUCC finals. Love the live feed. Thanks. Hashtag Royal Roads. You are very welcome, Matt. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. So hi. So we've got a question from Twitter from Lauren. The question is directed to you, Donish. Do you have a rapper background based on how he holds his mic? Donish, I'd really like the answer to that.
Yeah. So in my earlier days, who is this from? Lauren?
Yes.
Isn't Lauren like here somewhere?
She might be hiding somewhere.
Well, no,
or in
yeah.
the
They
live
used to
feed
call
room.
me DJ DB Delish. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Delish.
I never was.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
It's true, though. Look at the way you hold it.
I grew up watching Tupac. Could you guys feel that? Yeah. Okay.
I should have more swag or something. I mean, is that right or no?
You're so ridiculous.
That's wrong. That's embarrassing. Oh, I think that was a dig. I think that was a dig.
They made a Machiavelli reference during their presentation. Yeah, that was to boost investor confidence. You need to be sly. It's bold. It's the finals. Go for it.
It's the finals. We got another tweet from Rich F. He's watching the live feed in Edmonton. Says, looking good and best wishes to all the teams. So thanks, Rich F.
He must be a Nate supporter. Right on.
Could be, or just a big fan. So those of you just joining us on live feed, we have approximately 9 minutes before the next presentation will slowly begin. So stay tuned. From a word from our host, Donish, do you have any words? No?
So again, I know there's a 30-second delay here on the live stream, but for anyone in the overflow room, feel free to come over to the 4th floor, grab some coffee, grab some water. You have about 9 minutes before our next presentation.
Or because there is the delay, by the time you get it, you'll have 8.5 minutes for the coffee and the water. Yep, 8.5.
And we have a tweet from our executive director here, Alexandra Kulas, who says, Kelsey and Donish, you're sexy and killing it. Highly inappropriate.
Again, this is a warning, no inappropriate texts or tweets. Thank you. Yeah, PG, keep it PG. Thank you.
And we have a text from Guillaume, the executive director from JMUC. What's he saying, Kels?
Watching the live stream, and you guys are the best. Come back to Montreal.
And Mark is losing it. He's coming to the stage.
Mark, let's come on up here. Mark still loves you, Guillaume. So do we. And send us a ticket to Montreal, and we will be on that plane. I promise. I promise. Marco's asking if any of the other finalists are monitoring Rruiucc. No, we just let them run free now. Yep, it's totally up to them if they want to go online and watch the live feed. I'm just kidding.
And from our
locked down.
executive director to all of our people here in the command center, all of you volunteers here in the back room, we appreciate all your work very much. Thank you so much. I know you guys are all watching. You'll be busy. Hopefully you'll have enough energy for the gala tonight.
Olivia just tweeted saying quarter of the final presentations in the books at Rruiucc intense. So that's true. So one of the 4 is over. That is the team number 3, and they've come and gone, and now we're anticipating the next presentation, which should be starting shortly.
By the way, Mark, Guillaume says he loves you as well. He can hear you right now. We have mics all over the floor as well, so. It wouldn't be the worst thing you said.
You're right.
So a more appropriate response to your question over in the back. Are they able to watch? No, the other finalists are not able to monitor as they're in the prep room without any internet or phones, and they're being watched like a hawk by their ambassadors. So they have absolutely no idea what's going on right now.
Aiden M asks, where do the peacocks sleep at night? Anywhere they can. It's super awkward, man. Why are you looking at me like that? It's weird. I'm up here. I've been told I have to be here, but it's fun. I like this. We love you fellas from Brock.
We have just a few minutes before we bring the judges back in, and the next presentation will slowly start.
Kelsey, we have a tweet here from Lauren who's asking if we can get an interpretive dance in here. in commemoration of the creative case, the innovative case. You have anything?
That's a lie. I'm actually reading the same tweet, and that is not on there. But what I will answer is the question that he did ask, and that is, how are the judges picked for the finals? Because it was very intense. So the judges are respected people from both the community, local, from Vancouver, great different diverse background, and through different relationships with the school, we've been able to be blessed with such a great panel of judges. So yes, they're very intense, but they do it with love and encouragement. So very good.
Madam Executive Director has asked me once again to give a shout out to our command center, who's working incredibly hard. Thank you all very much. I guess tonight at the gala we'll be formally thanking them again. All right. Right. Marco tweets, I was told that I was picked to be a judge for my good looks. It is a criteria. It keeps it a little bit easier on the eyes for the contestants.
Oh, can I get that repeated, please? That was excellent.
It's getting mean in here.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
I said he looks great.
I think she said something about being chosen on good looks, but it's a blind competition and it does carry over for the judges. Yes, thank you for that comment. We will be back shortly. One moment. All right, once again, I'd like to ask all of you to make sure that your phones are on silent, and we will bring in the judges. Welcome back.
Just before we get started here again for the crowd, if any of you are new here, please turn your cell phones off, turn the ringers off, turn the vibrate off. And for all of you watching at home and for the ones who are in the room, I know Marco's been blowing up Twitter. That's hashtag RRUIUCC. And also the live stream's available for any of your university fellows at www.livestream.com/Rruiucc.
Waiting for the last two judges to join us, and we will begin shortly. The suspense is building, waiting for the final judge.
He's to the washroom. Been to the washroom. When he comes in, you get on. We know what you're doing.
Loud enough, he'll hear me in the restroom.
Some of his flies are
Just go bang on the stall and go.
With the mic.
Yeah.
Or the second slide.
Introduce them. All right, everyone, if we can settle the room down, I'd like to introduce our next finalists, team number 13.
Hello, welcome. Nice to see you again. Good morning. Nice to see you again. Good luck. Enjoy yourselves. That's the main thing.
Nice to see you. No, nice to see you.
So welcome team 13. Briefly going over the rules. Here. So your timekeeper is in the purple right in the front, and she can give a little wave. You have 20 minutes for this presentation. You will have a visual warning of 5 minutes remaining and one for 1 minute remaining. After which, there will be a 10-minute period of Q&A with a verbal warning with 1 minute remaining, after which the judges will exit, deliberate, and there will again be a 20-minute break, give or take, and you may begin.
Can I have a clicker, please?
One moment, please.
She's just texting, it's okay.
And can we see the time cards?
Please.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm starting the timer now. How do we make the lives of others better? This is our approach as well as our philosophy with all of our clients. But what do we have in common with you, Beiersdorf? You make the lives of others better by offering quality, reliable, and excellent products. On behalf of the Expand Consulting Group, my teammates and myself, Jonathan Bolduc, Sébastien Tremblay, Jasmin Beauséjour, as well as myself, Sarah Stapleton, are here today to answer a very clear mandate that you have assigned to us. Establish a strategic plan for Beiersdorf to direct the company towards a prosperous future. The way we're going to proceed today is very simple. We're going to begin with an analysis of the current situation, followed by our strategy. We're going to continue with the implementation of our strategy, and we're going to finish off with a global synthesis.
But in that particular situation, there's multiple issues that need to be addressed. The main issue here is to build shareholder value, build value for your shareholders. But there are a few questions that need to be answered in order to answer that main issue, which are geographical presence of your company, the management of the HR crisis that's currently going on inside your walls, also the production, management of your production, the segmentation of your revenues, meaning the portfolio of your products, how must it be structured, and also the competitive response to your competitors. Before going into the answers of each of these questions, I'll let Jonathan introduce you to the important facts to be considered before giving any answers to any questions.
We conduct an analysis of your industry and we conclude that there's a huge difference between geographical region. As you can see, Europe and North America industry is way more intense than the segment where in Asia and more emerging markets. This intensity is due to the fact that in North America and Europe, there's 3 major players fighting for the same market share, while the market is no more in growth. We've also analyzed the saturation of the market size, and the intensity of the market. As you can see, Latin America is less saturated, is a really large market size, and is less intense than other markets. We've also analyzed the revenue of your company. As you know, 84% of your revenue is coming from consumer goods, but we've also analyzed the segmentation by the revenue by geographical region. While, as you can see, 66% or 2/3 of your revenue is coming from North America and Europe, and that geographical region is not growing anymore. It didn't grow in your income last year, while 12% of your revenue is coming from Latin America, and that segment grew 15% last year. Now let's talk a little bit more about your company, what we can build on, and what you have to work on. Well, first, you have a really strong brand recognition. You're really good in R&D, and your brand for portfolio support all your business. And now, you still have to work on your HR motivation, especially since the last layoff. And you also have to work on your presence in emerging markets. And even if you are major shareholders that are major voting shares, you still have to work on the threats of industrial takeover.
We evaluated three alternatives that would be the most viable for your company and for your current situation right now, based on four important essential aspects and criteria: risk exposure, shareholder values, feasibility, as well as acceptance by employees and as well as shareholders. We then ranked every option on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 as the lowest, 5 as the highest, to be able to optimize, to see what will be the most optimized strategy. Based on the selling out strategy, as well as the status quo, and focus on the same strategy as was before, we believe and we are strongly persuaded that by going and to change with geographical focus and really keep the strategy while going focus on geographical market, we think that will be the best strategy for you as of right now.
The core of our strategy that we are recommending for you today is to focus on Latin America. Now let us explain why. First of all, there's an increase in 15% in that market. You already have 4 facilities distributed within that geographical area. Also, it's the second biggest segment, and it's less aggressive than Asia. Now, we're well aware that there's crisis management to be taken care of, so we are proposing a communication plan sent to your employees. This will not only reassure them about their jobs and their salaries, but it will also motivate them about your new incentives and the new focus on Latin America. Now, let's focus a little bit more on production. Like we mentioned, we're well aware that you already have 4 facilities in Latin America. There are facilities in Europe, and the demand is decreasing in that segment. So by increasing the demand in Latin America, you will be able to support with your production facilities in Europe as well. And what we are recommending as well is that in 5 years, you reevaluate if the need for a new production facility within Latin America is necessary or not. Now, let's look a little bit more at what type of clientele you are reaching in Latin America. Mostly women, because they purchase the products for themselves as well as for their children and their family. Let's just mention that we are focusing on skincare, including sun products, hair and body, body and facial products. So by this, we know that the women are looking for something trustworthy, something well-known, and something that's very excellent. We are proposing to launch the Nivea Trust Us With Your Skin campaign. Now, let's go a little bit more in detail regarding the marketing tools around this campaign. First of all, it's going to be important to have a high presence in marketing, and we're going to incorporate this in our budget that we explain a little bit later, through TV ads, through magazines in Latin America, through online, including on the website, and the campaign has to evidently be present on social media, and also sales reps. What we mean by sales reps is that you will need to have sales reps present in stores to show how efficient and how trustworthy your products are, always reminding them that the campaign is Nivea, trust us with your skin.
So regarding the actual segmentation of your portfolio between Tessa and the consumer goods, we believe that the 84% on consumer goods and the 16% on Tessa is actually the accurate target, because Tessa is now growing by itself. It's growing by more than 7% per year, whereas the consumer good is actually growing at 1% per year, but with our strategy, it's going to start picking up and increasing more. Now, what I want to say also is that our strategy is going to help you push the growth of consumer goods. So there's no need of diminishing the resources invested in promoting the Tessa segment, but we are actually advising your company to start investing a little more resources in the consumer goods, focused on the clientele Sarah just talked about, and focused in Latin America, mostly in Brazil and in Argentina, which are 2 big countries where you also have production capacity. looking at the competitive response that might happen when you go and increase your presence in Latin America, we believe that since 12% of your revenues, which is actually your second biggest segment after Europe, already come from Latin America, you already have a good knowledge of the market. You also have production capacity there, so you really know well the market. Of course, market research is going to be needed to really focus on the right medias, the right places, the right distribution channels, but we believe that you have the right knowledge and you are able to go and increase your presence in Latin America. Of course, by well defining your client, that's also going to help you respond to competitors who probably have different target clients. And also the campaign we are proposing you, which is an integrated marketing campaign. So all the different medias will always push towards the same message. So with that campaign and that clientele and the knowledge you already have within your walls, we believe that you will be able to answer any competitive action or competitive response that your competitors might have in the future. But before going with the financial impact of this whole strategy, we know that it's really important, yes, to focus on Latin America, but what about the rest of the business? How is this strategy include and affect the rest of your business? So I'll let Sebastian introduce you to this.
For the rest of the business, it's really simple. We strongly believe that you should keep the strategy, the status quo strategy of focus on skincare, because we think that that would secure your current market and that would make them prosperous for the 5-year cycle plan that we plan. And you should actually monitor your market share to be able to see if everything's going as planned. As for the China situation, we strongly believe that you should start right now by looking and negotiating a joint venture with a company that is already based on the Chinese market to be able to get to reach your actual target market known as the metropolities, as we all know before.
But of course, this joint venture, since it's an ongoing process, it's something you should start looking into, but it's not something we've included in the whole strategy. So it's just an advice for the future to start looking into it, because of course, the Chinese market is a highly attractive one, but we know that your company had problem in the past with China, so it's really important to go into that market with a partner that really knows the market. So a joint venture for us would be the best way for you to penetrate that market a little more. And for now, I'll go to the financials and the hypothesis regarding the exhibit that you have at the end of your package. So what we did is actually forecast sales growth, and this is total sales growth of 6% for 2012, 2013, and then 7%, and then going back to 6%, because we wanted to be conservative on our strategy. We didn't want to try to blind you with really high numbers. So, and keep in mind that this is total sales growth. This is not only sales growth in Latin America. Now, as for the marketing expenses, you already have 2.4 billion in marketing expenses. And if we applied 12% revenue share of revenue to that marketing expense, we see that it's about 200-ish million that you're actually investing in Latin America. We are proposing that you invest 346 million the first year to start off your campaign really well, and then invest 100 million year after that until 2016. Also, because in the exhibit, as you see on the last line, not the last line, the one just above, there's the forecast for your share price on the market. So we needed to forecast the PE ratio that would be applied to your stock on the stock exchange. So right now that PE ratio is at 40. We are expecting it to go down because this is a pretty high ratio. We don't believe it can stay that high. So that's why we're decreasing it towards 2016. Now if you look at the first line on this pro forma income statement, you see that evolution in revenues. I want you to notice that we're asking you to invest, we're advising you to invest about 300 millions the first year in 2012, which gives you about 300 million also an increase in sales. So that's a leverage of 1-to-1 for each dollar invested. But afterwards, if you look at 2013, it's an incremental 100 million in marketing expenses, giving you about 300 millions in extra revenues, which is a leverage of 3-to-1. And this is because the whole strategy is built around an integrated marketing campaign, which will build leverage through time, and that's why you see that nice increase in revenue. If we look at profits, we are foreseeing your margins, of course, to not go through the roof, but we're seeing your margins go from 5 right now to 9 in 2016, giving you a nice growth in net profit to $667 million in 2016. Now, of course, if we apply the diluted shares outstanding that are on the market right now and find the earnings per share, and we apply the PE ratio that I've just talked about, we see a share price in 2016 of $85-ish, which is a CAGR of 14%, which is tremendous creation of value for your shareholders for a mature company like this one.
So what would you need to do tomorrow morning as your company? You would need to first start the communication plan to reassure the shareholder as well as the employees, and you would need to start also to plan the planification of your marketing campaign. If we go on the longer run, if you can change, thank you. On the 5-year plans, here you can see on the graphic it's a 30-month plan because we really wanted to, for you to see the first steps you would need to follow, and then the campaign of Measure of Success will ongoing after the 5-year plan. So we really want to start the reassurance plan, then focus on the Latin American plan to be able to get the planification of marketing campaign as well as the sales after the first year, and then we'll be able to continue campaign along the 5-year plan and measure the success of our campaign. So the target, we think and we strongly believe that the future share of segmentation will be over 30% for Latin American inside your actual future share of consumer for your company.
Now, we're well aware that there are certain risks associated to the strategy we're proposing to you today. First off, if we look up here, the decrease in the European market, we valued it a probability of 30% associated to this and a high impact. We advise you to restructure marketing efforts in that area in order to reach your target market more efficiently. Secondly, we've identified a possible risk of 25% probability, which is a low demand in Latin America. This will evidently have a medium to high impact on your enterprise because this is our core strategy. But we truly believe that if you use more resources to promote, you'll be able to target the clientele we've identified earlier and reach out and speak out to them. So to conclude, we began the presentation by telling you how do we make the lives of others better. We at Expand Consulting are persuaded that if you focus on the Latin American market and if you manage your internal HR, you will be able to expand as a company and to assure prosperous future through the campaign Nivea, Trust Us with Your Skin. Thank you very much, and if ever you have questions, it will be our pleasure.
So once again, Team 13, there's going to be a 10-minute question and answer period. Amber will then give you a 1-minute verbal warning.
Thank you.
I'm the new CEO. Today is my first day on the job, and I'm inheriting a laundry list of issues. You've spoken quite eloquently about marketing. I would like you to comment on leadership and board governance.
Exactly. So right now, about 50% of the shares are held by the Hearst family. 9.99% are held by you, and the rest is.
I'm much more interested in the people. The outgoing CEO has left a legacy behind, and he's moved over to the other board.
Yep.
And I'm a new kid on the block.
Yep.
How do I immediately take charge and restore confidence?
So first of all, with the communication plan internally, that's important, really important to start communicating well with your employees. You need to show true interest in your employees, knowing what their needs are, knowing what their aspirations are, and really focusing on telling them why going into Latin America is going to help them grow and be in a growing business. On the side of the shareholders, a letter to the investors outlining, for example, the pro forma statement that I've provided you with. I think this should provide them with a sense of confidence that you are able to manage the business. You are keeping the values of the business intact. You are just reorienting your marketing expenses towards a higher growth. So this way you should be able to manage well the shareholders as well as the employees.
I'll take a crack. Hi guys,
Hi.
nice presentation. So, question about marketing. 6% overall growth, disproportionate amount of that will come from Latin America. So you have competitors in that market. You've had effort in Latin America. Do you expect the competitors to roll over and just give the market share? It's a plugged market. How do you plan to go and create a really significant market share increase in Latin America just by throwing money at it, or please explain?
So actually, mathematically, the increase in sales, if we're looking at a 6% increase in sales, that's not completely coming only from Latin America, of course. If it had been, that would have meant 50% increase in sales in Latin America. We're not targeting 50%. We're targeting anywhere between 20 and 27%. And that's because you're focusing on a target market that's currently, of course, being offered products from your competitors, but your products are differentiated from the one of your competitors. And we think that with the integrated marketing campaign that we've talked about, you'll be able to convince those customers that your products are the best and actually grow your sales by that amount, which are, since it's only 12% of your market, a 27% increase would not be as difficult to achieve as in Europe, for example.
So go down a layer for me. That's still an aggressive reach into a given market. Explain to me one more layer, and then also explain to us what happens if the 25% kicks in, because you're asking us to make a $300 million bet. What happens if the 25% goes south? If you fail, what happens?
If we fail to do that 25%, we're thinking actually that since this market is highly is clearly growing. And
No. There is a mitigation of 25% on you failing in Latin America.
So we think that this 300 million is not a super significant amount for your company. You have $2.2 billion in cash. So that's an investment that's not too risky. We're not asking you to invest half of your capital. But of course, it's significant in a nominal way. So we believe that if all else fails, then you'll have to, of course, reanalyze the situation and see why it didn't work and refocus your marketing.
Thanks.
I'd like to carry on from where my colleague left off. Wonderful marketing presentation, but I got a problem. My house is on fire, the back door's open, and the wolves are at the door, and I'm losing money over in the Eastern Asia area. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to go spend money over here, but I'm losing money over here. Help me, please.
As you can see, as we talked before, by the China situation, we really need to focus for the Eastern Asia as well as China, because
I have a current problem. I'm losing money.
Yes, I understand, and we strongly believe by really focusing on the market we are currently telling you by Latin America, we really think because that...
Okay, so you're not going to do anything about China, we're going to leave it as
the
status
China
quo?
situation, we need to start to focus on the joint venture as well to find a company to really target the actual...
Have you costed the losses that I'm going to continue to take into this forecast?
Yes, we did.
In the profit losses?
Yeah, actually, yes. If we look, it was included actually in the sales growth.
So what were the other alternatives you looked at for the China situation?
Actually, we believe, we've looked at going into China by yourself, and we believe that's not the right alternative because you probably don't have sufficient market knowledge. So that's why we've decided to go with a joint venture in the future, which joint venture is not included in the forecast, the joint venture itself.
Why would I just not leave?
Well, because we think there's a significant opportunity there. That's why. So keep your presence, try to find a partner. So that's what we're thinking.
Can you get me to break even in China somehow? So at least I'm not losing money? You got a plan to get me to break even at least?
The break even, well, you should try reducing your cost, maybe downsizing a bit again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you look at these two levels of board above the CEO, can you tell me how those might influence my behavior as a CEO over the next little while? Because in Germany and in Austria too, as you probably know, their responsibilities are legislated there, not something the board plays with. And the world is a little bit different for the CEO's freedom of action than it may well be in North America. So if you've got some thoughts on that, I'd appreciate them.
So of course, I'm not a professional about legislation in Germany, but we think that being completely transparent with the board and your shareholders is a primary concern to us. So that's why we've advised you to send a letter to your investors and do the same with your board. We think that the board is going to be eager to follow that plan because of the growth it will induce for your shareholder. So we believe, that this business plan, it's a $3 million bet for the first year, of course, but with those financial statements, you should be able to get everyone on board. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. I'm sure Brendan's got more.
So we just talked about the power of the company, but you also touched on the employees of the company and how this program was going to reassure them. There's 18,000 or so employees, a significant portion of those in Europe, who still stand to lose their jobs because this is not going to create new revenues overnight. How are we going to deal with that internal strife right now?
So in Europe, as we said, Europe facilities are probably going to be needed for sustaining the actions in Latin America. So there's four facilities in South America. So that whole growth, if it outgrows the capacity in facilities.
Well, the problem is they got a mortgage to pay next month.
Yeah.
And we're not going to keep them employed to stand around waiting for Latin America to take off.
Of course. So you should reassure them that the downsizing that's been occurring lately was sufficient to stabilize your finances in Europe, and that it's not that a long run, it's a short run, so next year and the year after, demand's going to pick up in South America.
And then we're going to build a fifth plant there, which then
that's
now
after
Europe's,
5 years.
Yeah.
So we believe that situation in Europe, for example, the economic situation in Europe, crisis that's currently going on there, should be resolved after 2017, for example. So then the demand will pick up again in Europe. And for them, you should be able to lay this all out for them and make
so
sure
Europe becoming 38% of our overall sales is still going to be strong enough to maintain our employment there? Like, we're just going to become that much bigger?
You have 1 minute.
That everybody, so, okay.
Thanks, Randy.
Oh, I thought Neville was going.
Neville,
go?
go ahead.
No,
You get another question?
no, I'm okay at the moment.
I'm fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 13. Very well done. Judges, again, I'll have to ask you to be escorted out. Thank you very much. Good job. Greg, Daryl, would you mind escorting our judges? Thank you. All right, again, so we do have a short break, so feel free to help yourselves to the coffee and water in the atrium, and you may start your tweeting. And again, hello to those viewing us with the live feed. If you're just joining us, we've just completed the second of the 4 final presentations, and it was fabulous. What did you think?
And we just want to give a shout out here to Matt Massaro here from the University of Florida. He's checking us out online live. Matt, we miss you.
Hey, Matt. How you doing? Good? Great. Bruno, apparently your coach is asking us to call you. All right, we've had some good questions. There was talk of some interesting analogies by one of our judges, referring to, I believe there was a burning house, wolves, and an open door. That would throw me off, Donish. How about you? Would you be thrown off?
Yesterday he talked about a slug going into Gandhi during one of the creative pieces. I'm not sure. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have questions about the slug. I'd be like, what kind of slug is it? It would throw me off. What else have we got on Twitter?
Oh, we have a message from your dad. He's telling you to stop chewing gum.
Dad, I got rid of the gum.
Papa Bleakney.
Thank you
for
for
that.
letting me know. Sorry, Dad. Got rid of the gum. How's everybody doing? Thumbs up? Good, yeah? Lots of thumbs up?
What do we have in here? We have Washington.
But we don't know the names of the schools. We just know the numbers,
That's
don't
right.
we?
That's right.
That's right.
Right.
So without any bias at all, team number 9 is so good looking, I have to say. And none of them are looking at me right now, so that was a wasted compliment. Who else? We got some good looking competitors here today. Team 20. Yeah, you did not suit up. You derobed into more comfortable clothing, which is absolutely fine. Are you glad to have the heels off, ladies?
Is there a Professor
Donish was
Lyman
just
in the
telling
room?
me he wanted the heels off, but he needs them. I don't. He's only 5 foot. He's got lifts in right now. They're not actually his own shoes.
Do we have a Professor Lyman in here? We do not.
Maybe in the live feed.
Oh, and we have a tweet here from Tomo Kazu from the John Molson School of Business. He says he loved all the final presentations. Thank you, Tomo.
I was just made aware some of the people viewing on the live stream, the Q&A was a bit fuzzy and poor quality, so we're definitely going to see if we can sort that out for you. You may want to close down the window and refresh it, especially during this period before the next presentation begins.
Oh, so you have an admirer online. Matt Massaro from the University of Florida says, "You guys are doing great. Hashtag killing it."
Well, thank you, Matt. You know, we're missing you. Florida, right? Florida. Matt's from Florida. We had the pleasure of meeting him at JMUC in Montreal. Some returning faces here today. Let's see what else. Oh, I've got the exact quote from Brian's analogy today, and it was, "My house is on fire, the back door is open, and the wolves are at the door."
A little dramatic, no?
Yeah, I would have questions. I'd say, are they hungry wolves? Have they eaten recently? You know, is there a lock on this door? Is it sliding glass? Like, how much protection do I have? You know, a bucket of water, a wet blanket?
I don't know. I think I would turn around and run instead of ask all those questions.
Yeah. How are you gonna fend off the wall? Well, and also the house is on fire. Genius.
He's not all good looks.
Again, the challenge is on stage, you would feel like you'd want to answer it in that way, but it is, again, an analogy. But I'd get wrapped up in that analogy, and I think I'd lose the essence of the question, unfortunately.
Hey, let's give another shout out to our people sitting in the command center, Samantha Wood, Linda, I know you both are there. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
Cal Jackson, have you returned to the room? Yes? Hey, Cal. How you doing? You're hot on Twitter right now. He says, Judge 4 is going after them. Hashtag rapid fire, relentless questions, one after another. Teams respond just as fast. I would tend to agree. They did pretty well after some rapid fire. It was rough questions, but they handled them pretty well.
Looky, we have Lauren Moline, who has been all over Twitter. Thank you, Lauren. Can't hear us?
You're all over Twitter. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Yep, you're all over Twitter. That's one of the faces behind Twitter. We also have some tweeters, possibly, over in the corner right here. Oh, hello, Samantha. How are you? Well, thank you. I think the thumbs up is a good thing. But she said you're fired with the thumbs up, so I don't know what that means. I'm fired. Donish, I'm going to leave you at this time. I'm going to make sure that our live feed is working. So,
Thanks for making it awkward.
my great pleasure.
So just an FYI for everyone who was competing today, the gala, the buses are leaving at 5:45. Yeah, Lindsay? At the same spot it left before? Okay. Has HEC, or has Team 13 have a seat? You can have a seat anywhere you want. There's no room for you?
Donish. Donish, I see you.
Kelsey, it's weird to begin with. Just stop.
Well, Donish, why don't you put up 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 1, and I'll guess how many. You got 2 up there. I see. But you don't see me. I'm hiding behind Dawn. All right, we've got some more tweets. You know which tweet is my favorite, don't you, Donish?
Yeah. Why don't you tell me?
It's from our beloved ambassador from our experience in Montreal, Tomo, and he tweeted at us saying that we look great. We know, obviously. And much love from Montreal, and there's much love going back to Montreal and all the different teams and all the hometowns watching today. I hear also from Carrie Berry at RUIUCC. Good job, University of Guelph. We're very proud of you. So lots of warm wishes and lovely words.
So for the team from Guelph Humber, that was Carrie Berry, who was showing you much love.
And Alex, our executive director, has a message for Don Kaplan. Is Don Kaplan in the house? Don, we have a message from the executive director that you are looking fine. You're looking fine. All right? So he's about to go very, very red. Obviously, everybody have a look because he's super embarrassed. It was from below. It wasn't from above. Don't worry. So again, we will be beginning shortly. Another reminder, phones on silent, please. Those tuning in on the live feed, we will be beginning shortly. So keep contacting us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and keep sending your well wishes. They're greatly appreciated by all the members.
You want to say hi to your parents again?
Hi, Mom and Dad. Hi. And your wife?
Neville, did you drop one of those pills? I just found that on the floor. All right, don't you had them? Maybe they're here. So. I just found that ibuprofen on the floor. I tell you, since you were all eating them.
All these tweets have been flattering Donish so much, they needed to make the stage bigger for his ego. And again, we will be beginning shortly. Thank you again, judges, for joining us. So we'd now like to welcome team number 16, who will be joining us. Feel free to enter.
Hi there, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Welcome, enjoy yourself. Nice to see you again. How's it going? Nice to meet you. Good luck. Nice to see you. You too. How's it going? Good to see you.
Randy. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Vicky.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you, Randy. Hi there.
Hi, Jing. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Jing. Nice to meet you.
So welcome team number 16. Amber is your official timekeeper. She'll give a quick wave. She's sitting in the purple there. The presentation will be a maximum of 20 minutes. There will be a visual warning of 5 minutes, which I believe is the blue card. A red card is 1 minute remaining. Following the presentation, there will be a 10-minute Q&A period where there will be a verbal warning when 1 minute remains. Amber, if you're ready, you may begin.
Nivea's philosophy has always been to provide the best skincare for all ages, all culture, all locations, as well as all skin types. Their products has resonated really well with the consumers. However, we have noticed that Beiersdorf is currently facing winds of change in this ever-evolving landscape. As what Charles Darwin once said, it is not the strongest of species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that is most responsive to change. Good afternoon, Board of Directors. My name is Daphne, and together with Vignesh, Jinghan, and Justin, we will be sharing with you our strategy for the company going forward.
And the key question that faces Beiersdorf is initially, how can it grow in an evolving global landscape? And it faces three key issues in tackling this problem. Firstly, its inability to attract Chinese customers. Secondly, it does not have an extensive distribution network in China. And lastly, its inability to sell to Chinese consumers.
So we have developed a three-pronged strategy: load, aim, and fire.
So let's have a look at the revenue growth of Beiersdorf from 2000 across its different country segments. As you can see, the growth in Europe is a negative 5.8%. In America, it's achieved a relatively healthy growth rate of 6%. And in Africa, Asia, and Australia, we've grouped it together, it's also achieved a very close and yet healthy growth rate of 5.33%.
So what we can actually see is that Europe faces the slowest growth rates, which are expected to hold.
Now let's have a look at the global revenue breakdown in terms of a year-on-year basis for Beiersdorf. As you can see, from 2008 to 2011, its revenue has been decreasing steadily at a CAGR of a negative 1.9%.
So let's take a look at the revenue breakdown by the regions. What we can actually see is that for Beiersdorf itself, they're actually very heavily reliant on Europe. As you can see from the revenue breakdown, 59% of their revenue actually comes from the European region. And so this actually further emphasizes on our point that they are actually very heavily reliant on the European region.
Let's have a look at the current company structure of Beiersdorf right now. As you can see, they have two segments. One is the consumer segment, the other is the Tesla side. In the consumer segments, they cater to the mass market, to the premium sector, as well as the dermo-cosmetic segment.
For the next product, which is the Tesla side of the department, they actually do industrial products such as adhesives. And if you take a look at the consumer industries itself, they are currently operating in 4 different industries, namely facial care, sun care, hand and body care, as well as hair care.
So let's have a look at Beiersdorf's core competencies, because this is the platform with which it can currently plan its growth strategies. Firstly, its products are based on advanced research. It collaborates with universities and research centers worldwide. Also, it has a global research center, which is for product innovation, as well as advanced skincare, which is considered the biggest and most advanced in Europe.
Beiersdorf also has an ability to adapt to local countries' conditions. And what this actually means is that the research center that they have actually allows, they have the capacity to actually simulate economic, climatic conditions of the other different countries in the various regions around the world. So this will actually allow them to actually test out their products to see whether consumers globally, how can their skin type respond to their products.
So let's have a look at examine its current relationship as well as its operations in China, in which it just recently expanded into. It formed a partnership with C-Bonds, and what was initially hoped was that it would achieve synergy in sales and distribution networks by utilizing C-Bonds' current network in China. However, this partnership did not happen as it was planned, and the first reason is that the distribution and sales network was focused on non-target areas for Beiersdorf. Secondly, the products that Beiersdorf and C-Bonds were selling in China were highly focused in Tier 2 and 3 Chinese cities. And lastly, the consumers for C-Bonds preferred international products instead. Hence, there was an inability to reach Chinese customers.
So the second part that they plan to achieve into expansion to China was to leverage on the local brand C-Bonds to actually increase market penetration. However, why such a partnership failed is because the consumer market in China for haircare products actually prefer an international brand. Furthermore, C-Bonds was actually unable to compete and help them gain sufficient market share in the industry itself. So what this actually means is that they are currently they have an inability to attract the Chinese consumers.
And lastly, the partnership was also supposed to provide Beiersdorf with an entry point into the Chinese hair care industry. However, Beiersdorf's current core competencies lie in facial care, sun care, and hand and body care, in which it is the market leader in various regions across the world. And hence, because it did not leverage on its core competencies, it was not able to cater to the Chinese customers as it usually does worldwide.
So let us take a look at why we actually particularly look at China itself. We have actually we have actually used a funnel to actually determine which is the country we should go into going forward for the company itself. So we have actually looked at 3 different criteria, namely market size, market growth, as well as feasibility. And with using this funnel strategy, we have actually outlined that United States and China could be potential opportunities for the company going forward.
And hence, we had to make a choice between USA and China, which would be the ideal market for Beiersdorf to enter again. As you can see, we use the 3 criteria of the level of competition in that market, the match of customer preferences and the core competencies that Beiersdorf currently provides, and lastly, the cost of expanding into these various regions. And we have realized that China is actually the ideal market and the most promising one for Beiersdorf to enter into.
So let us reiterate the main issues that we have identified. The main issue is how can Beiersdorf grow in an evolving global industry? And 3 key issues underlying it will be, firstly, that there is an inability to attract Chinese consumers. Secondly, there are not sufficient extensive distribution channels. Thirdly, their inability to sell to Chinese consumers.
And how we aim on addressing these key issues are firstly through the first portion of our strategy, which includes the load, which involves a heavy and extensive marketing campaign. The second issue would be extensive distribution channels within China, which we hope to address using an oil spill distribution method. And lastly, we hope to sell to Chinese customers through a Chinese-centric product line.
The reasons for these issues were because the Chinese market was a particular market, which was very interesting, and it had particular specifications which had to be met in order to successfully enter into the Chinese market. So let us first look at our load strategy in addressing the inability to attract Chinese customers.
So our strategy is broken down into 3 parts. Firstly, load, in which we will be taking part in engaging a marketing campaign. Secondly, aim, in which we will be expanding our distribution channels in China through an oil spill distribution method. Finally, fire, where we will be targeting Chinese-centric products.
So the load strategy aim is to basically align Nivea with Chinese appeal. And the strategy in detail is to establish a localized and unifying marketing campaign for Nivea to enter into the Chinese market.
So the rationale behind this is that a localized and unifying marketing campaign will realign Nivea products with the brand preferences of the Chinese consumer. This is something that they previously failed to do in their earlier China entry strategy. Secondly, the Chinese consumer can relate to Nivea products with the Chinese values of health, wellness, as well as beauty.
Lastly, this marketing campaign allows Nivea or Beiersdorf to increase the demand and desirability of the products under the Nivea range.
So the marketing campaign that we have come up with is titled Fu Huo. Now, Fu, taken by itself as a Chinese character, means repetition. And what we feel is that this aligns with our corporate culture in emphasizing our commitment towards continuous research and development. Finally, Huo means life, and the 2 words taken together mean revival.
Hence, Nivea products will be marketed under this Fu Huo marketing campaign, which would incorporate not just the styles, but the packaging of a blue phoenix, keeping in line with Nivea's blue theme, and the phoenix of revival, which is in essence of the Fu Huo strategy that we are suggesting to the board. Hence, the marketing ads will also incorporate commercials featuring celebrities who would specifically talk about how Nivea revitalized and revived their beauty, their wellness of health, and such as forth.
So now we'll move on to the aim portion of our strategy, which is this oil spill distribution method that we've spoken of.
The aim of this strategy is to increase our products' accessibility to the Chinese consumers. And the strategy basically entails a virtual and realistic oil spill distribution strategy, which will be further elaborated.
So we see that Chinese cities are massively populated, and internet penetrations are as high as 60%, and e-commerce is expected to grow by 3 times in from between now and 2015. Also, we see that targeting both avenues of this, meaning a physical retail location as well as an online e-commerce platform, will allow Nivea to be easily accessible to the Chinese consumer.
Hence, this oil spill strategy will even allow for future expansions of David Beiersdorf into the different Chinese markets. But what exactly is this oil spill strategy, you might ask? The oil spill strategy basically entails opening flagship stores in the major cities: Shanghai, Guangzhou, Beijing, Shenzhen. Furthermore, it also entails opening online store for the Chinese markets, basically on Fubao.com, China's largest online market, which has 300 million users and 1.5 million unique hits daily. These stores in Shanghai, Guangzhou, Beijing, and Shenzhen will be open in the Garden View Park in Guangzhou, one of the most exclusive streets in Guangzhou itself, and Xintiandi in Shanghai, another exclusive street in Shanghai featuring the most prominent brands.
We will also intend to create a customer-facing website which will utilize our existing partnership with Seabonds as a network for distribution. Also, the flagship stores will be incorporated with salespeople with extensive hospitality, and how we aim to differentiate ourselves from other existing stores is essentially through customer service.
The last part of the strategy, the fire strategy, where we're suggesting that Nivea will actually create a new product that can meet the needs and the desires of the Chinese consumer. This is because we identified that the Chinese consumer is a very different consumer from other parts of the world. Hence, we first identified what exactly a Chinese consumer will want. And along the values of health, beauty, and wellness, our strategy would cater this new Chinese product and invent something new which can really relate to the Chinese consumer. Thus, the first strategy, the fire strategy, the aim is to actually have the right products that Beiersdorf can sell to the Chinese consumer. The strategy, in detail, is to establish a Chinese-centric product line.
So we see that Chinese consumers have very specific tastes and preferences, and they mostly buy products which cater to such tastes, barring branding issues. We also see that Chinese consumers will, in fact, buy Chinese-centric products through extensive experience in these product decisions.
The first way we're implementing this strategy is to first reinvent our traditional body lotions of the Nivea line. The traditional body lotions, as in those you would see in the blue packagings, they're widely available in many stores. We'll reinvent this with Chinese ingredients, such as ginseng or particular honeys that you can only find in the Chinese region. And you reinvent this even to the Chinese needs. And Chinese women, they love whitening products. Whitening is the rage now in China. And we reinvent this into something which can really relate to them. And we suggest ginseng whitening body lotion, all-encompassing body lotion that is not only beneficial to your health, but will revive your beauty.
On top of that, we will incorporate ginseng body lotion together with our advertisement campaigns, and this will truly be a way that we draw attention to our brand by pushing this out as a central product before moving on to other product line extensions.
We see this as a capability that Beiersdorf can employ, as Beiersdorf already has a large amount of expenditure in R&D and can utilize these core competencies in R&D, as mentioned, to create and incorporate this new Chinese product.
So now we'll cover some of the risks that we foresee with our strategy as well as our proposed mitigation measures. So the first risk we have identified is perhaps an inability to open stores in Tier 2 cities. As mentioned, this is an oil spill distribution strategy where we begin by placing a flagship store in major cities, and we hope to eventually spread out into other less populated Tier 2 cities. So we see that we may face an inability to open stores because of perhaps red tape, as well as insufficient infrastructure to accommodate our stores.
In order to mitigate this, we'll first focus on the online presence in these cities to capture the new growing demands of these different focus cities that we are currently targeting. The second risk is that online transactions might be difficult on the online portal because of the credit card issues in China itself. And in order to mitigate this, we will plan to actually have an online payment system, oh no, sorry, not online, but a mobile payment system. They can use the mobile systems to make payments for Nivea products.
So we see that while internet penetration is known to be very high in China, perhaps some problems in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities occurs through credit card penetration, where in fact they have not yet received such a high uptake of simple financial products such as credit cards, and we see that this could be a problem when purchasing through an online medium. So the mobile payment system will essentially bypass this problem by moving our products to being available for purchase through handphones.
The next risk we see is that there might be a low uptake of the ginseng body lotion. We believe that the ginseng body lotion might be too strong in the formulation, the smell might be too difficult for customers to take in. And the mitigation for this would actually to reduce the concentration used and tailor the product accordingly by trial testing of this ginseng product in the Chinese market.
So now we'll look at a timeline of our implementation for our strategies. And firstly, we will define our marketing campaign details within now and the first half year. And this will essentially be carried out by the marketing department. From then onwards, we will roll out this marketing campaign and we envision it to stretch out across the full period of 5 years, where we will constantly promote new products as well as our brand image.
Next, we will develop the ginseng whitening body lotion, which will be conducted by the R&D team, and test the product in the Chinese market and eventually roll it out. Lastly, we will acquire the leases for these flagship stores in Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, which will be conducted by the operations team, and the setting up of the flagship stores in these countries would also be conducted by the ops team and will be rolled out after the second year.
So now we'll look at some of the financial implications of our strategy. The key things to note is that we have envisioned that we have now, in our projections, we have reversed this erosion of revenues that the company has been facing in the past few years. So as compared to our base case projection with a negative CAGR of minus 1.9%, we foresee that now there will be a positive CAGR of 1.1%. Secondly, we also see that 8% of revenues are going to come from new sources, and this heavily reduces the over-reliance that the company currently has on the European market.
The breakdown of costs for our strategy will total up to about $64 million respectively through the infrastructuring, marketing, development of the product, maintenance of the website, and the establishment of the e-commerce website respectively.
So what we see is that this low cost of implementation makes this a highly suitable strat for the company. And the reason that we can push forward at such low cost is because many of the capabilities that we propose, that we use, are already being developed and focused on by the company.
So essentially, how can Beiersdorf grow in an ever-evolving global industry? First, we identified that in order to do so, it needs to position itself in favorable economies where the industry can grow at a favorable rate. And hence, we propose to grow into China effectively through our 3 strategies, which we identified that the 3 key issues which are hindering this is basically how to attract Chinese customers, the need for an extensive distribution channel, and the inability to sell to our Chinese customers itself.
In response to these 3 key issues, we have developed our Load, Aim, and Fire strategy. Load, our extensive marketing campaign focused along the theme of food war. Aim, our oil spill distribution that starts in Tier 1 cities and eventually branches out into surrounding Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities with a staggered capital expansion. Finally, Fire, our implementation of a Chinese-centric product which we feel will enable the company to effectively tailor ourselves to the needs of consumer preferences.
Charles Darwin really hit it on the nail when he said that it is not the strongest nor the most intelligent that survive, but those that who are most responsive to change. And we believe that with our strategy, the Load, Aim, and Fire, these 3-pronged approach can propel Beiersdorf further into this ever-changing industry through this leveraging of the Chinese growth in this market itself. Thank you.
So once again, there will be a 10-minute Q&A with a 1-minute verbal warning to the team.
Now we know all about the Chinese market, and essentially you said we made a mess of it last time, that's where we're going to do it again, and I think you gave us some very good reasons why we should consider that. In the meantime, I've got a shareholders meeting coming, and I'm the Lion's Den, and the Lions are the press, the stockholders, the legislation that we're operating under, the employees and everything else. You have any quick comments on what I might do before I go in the Lion's Den?
Oh, well, for the issues we have identified, yes, we do realize the current restructuring have actually caused a lot of anger among the current employees, as almost 1,000 employees were laid off in Germany and such. However, we do realize that it was actually a good move for the company to restructure itself. And in order to really mitigate this, we propose that some employee benefits could be given in and over the letting go of these employees, and this would mitigate the issue. However, we do not see this as a big problem for Beiersdorf.
What about those shareholders that are around on there?
Sorry, yes.
Small
so
lions.
we believe that with this strategy, actually, that the shareholders can understand where we are currently positioning ourselves and the future growth opportunities that would really attract and these shareholders in the growth of Beiersdorf and in the trust of the company itself. And we believe that this three-pronged strategy is holistic enough.
Thank you.
In our 100 years of operation, we've been more focused on health than fats, and that's why we're still here. And that's why I question our flagship product, and I feel like it's a bit of deck chairs on the Titanic. So can you explain to me how that one product is going to launch us significantly into China and still maintain our core value?
Right, so let me just recap a little bit. We've realized that our revenues for the company is falling drastically, and our major revenue driver is the European market. However, because of the Eurozone crisis and other environmental factors, we are not. It's been experiencing negative growth. So our biggest revenue driver is no longer providing us with the revenues that we need. Hence, there is a need for us to look beyond the European border into other more promising markets. That is why we propose China. As for fats and health products, what Beiersdorf, one of its core competencies is to locally adapt each of its products for the local market. So we do not believe that we are actually jumping on a fad, rather we are actually targeting our products specifically for the market in China itself, and hence this line of products that will be rolled out in China would be the ideal platform for us to start to achieve a positive growth rate.
If I also add on to what my colleague just said, with regards to the corporate culture of focusing on health, we see that ginseng is actually widely regarded as a very popular health product. In fact, consumers from all over the world fly into China simply because and purchase ginseng products before they leave. It's very popular in terms of tourist purchases as well, because it is known to be able to increase blood flow, help blood circulation, as well as other such things as create healthier skin and stuff like that. And so, in terms of
that's good.
I think what I really want to do is bring your attention to the antipodes, exactly the opposite side of the world from where you're currently thinking. You've been focusing your presentation on China. We're in Germany. I'm the CEO. And I'm about to enter into the annual general meeting, and there is a laundry list of issues. Shareholder, financial, growth issues on the table, and a complicated management structure, a complicated governance structure, and the loss of the key members of the directorship of the company. Please comment on what I'm going to do in the very short term. In other words, after the current CEO gives his exit speech.
I think we understand that your concern is with the upcoming shareholders meeting, and we feel that in this regard, the company has already taken several steps to address these issues. They've implemented some management restructuring. They expect a 90 million cost savings by the year 2014, and these are all steps in the right direction. However, what we feel we need to change with the company is their strategic direction, and what we realize is that such a change cannot happen within the short term. These losses have been accumulating over a span of 4 years. We've been growing at a CAGR of negative 1.1%, and we feel that the measures taken cannot be taken across such a short period of time in order to reverse the fortunes of the company. So with regards to the shareholders meeting, I would suggest playing up the things that the company has already done, restructuring management, as well as streamlining its products. These are the two things that we feel are able to address shareholder concerns in the short term. And in order to reverse the company's fortunes in the long term, we have mid to long term. These are the strategies which we have put forward.
Go. So you're going into China with $20 million worth of advertising budget, and there's nothing in there at all about how you're going to compete. And you think you're just going to throw money at the problem and just have all the competitors are just going to fall down and let you come in and grab their market share? No. So my question is, give me some comfort on, how you're going to differentiate the market. They all say youth, they all say revival. It's a plugged market with competitors. Think you're just going to waltz in and just grab the competitors' market share without a scrap? What's your strategy?
Yes, for our strategy to enter the market, basically really revolves around utilizing Nivea as an international brand and incorporating some Chinese elements into it to give it the premium feel, and yet the Chinese association with the Chinese markets, in order to differentiate ourselves from just the sole Chinese brands who usually are perceived to be of lower brand quality, and of the international brands who do not relate to the Chinese customers. And this fusion is what differentiates our Chinese line of products that can do both at the same time of having a premium feel and relating to Chinese customers.
Quick follow-up question. What are you going to do when they all gang up and try to crush you and they come out with their own fusion products? It's a plugged market.
Right, so we believe that the reason that we will be able to differentiate ourselves from competitors is firstly, our core competency is in fact in terms of research and development. Our team is extremely strong in that area. Furthermore, we have the ability to simulate environments from across the world, namely in Africa and the China market. So in terms of research and development and pushing out of new products, we believe this is a strength of ours. We will begin by localizing our product to the China market, moving forward with our ginseng body lotion. And in further response to competitors, we will of course need to continue.
Okay, thanks. All right. So they're going to continue. So you're not dealing with piddly little companies, Johnson & Johnson, huge Chinese companies, P&G. These guys are not dumb, right? And they have similar resources to you, and their goal is to crush you and not let you in to China because you've already failed. So explain to me what you're going to do. How are you going to butt heads with P&G when you failed? You've been booted out of the market. How are you going to come back in? How are you going to fracture the market to create a dominant market position to meet those numbers? I don't see it yet. Please help us understand.
Perhaps if I could answer your first concern, because we have been booted out of the Chinese market, sure, but we have been operating under the name of our partner. However, the primary aim right now is to leverage on the high brand equity that Nivea, the brand Nivea itself presents. We are actually the market leaders across globally. And what we know of the Chinese consumers is that, especially in the tier 1 cities in which we intend on launching our flagship stores, they have a really strong preference for these brands, the market leaders. They want to actually, they like the aspirational value of using such products. So we believe that because of our high brand equity, that's the first step in by entering with Nivea.
Okay, thanks. I was just hoping to hear about the competitive response. Next question, anybody?
There's 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, please. I've been hired from outside to gut this place, obviously, or they would have used somebody internally. I've got to inspire some confidence. And I'm going to tell them I'm going back into the market that's killed me so far and lost me a ton of money. What else am I going to tell them? I feel like I'm walking in with an empty plate. Can you help me, please?
Yes, so and in order to bring this message better across your shareholders probably, you can start by establishing why you fit in China, and and tell them that basically because your entry into China was basically through C-bonds, and C-bonds was a Chinese brand.
Yeah, that's fine, but I have nothing else to tell them?
Furthermore, because the Chinese market is actually very attractive. And
Yeah, but do I have anything else to tell them?
Well, we can tell them a great strategy which would really promise us, which would really be a low-hanging fruit with high returns on our investments.
Thank you, Team
Thank you very much.
60. This concludes the third presentation. Greg Darrell, again, we'll ask you to escort the judges. Very well done.
Oh, wow.
All right, we are now just waiting for the fourth and final presentation, and again, it will be happening shortly, but please feel free to treat yourself to some coffee, water in the atrium off to the side. So, how was that for the audience? Thumbs up? Neutral? Down? Yeah? How's the judging? Is it getting harder? Is it getting easier? Oh, we're getting a lot of thumbs down. Don't say it. Well, actually, we're out of the competition. Why not? Just kidding. Yeah, no, there's some tough questions, but even more tough questions in the Twitter feed coming in. A lot of questions about some risk and mitigation. And I feel like some of the judges didn't poke the right holes in the right spots. I think we've got one Twitter enthusiast that agrees. Oh, my waiter's returning with my coffee. Thank you so much, sir. Carl's. Oh.
Mark, for the love of God, what are you doing out there?
No, you're not.
You're a strategist.
Are you? I'm going to keep saying no. So I have a few shout outs to some family members, my Omi and Opa, my grandparents, watching on the live feed. Hi. My friend Rachel. Hi, everyone. And to those just joining us on the live feed, we have just finished the third presentation, and in about 10 minutes or so, the fourth and final presentation of the finals will occur. So that's what, Team 17, is that right? Excellent.
And just an FYI again for all of the competitors, the buses are leaving at 5:45 today to go to the gala, same spot they've been picking you up from for the last couple of days.
If you don't know it by now, you probably shouldn't get on it. Oh, you're mad. Are you going to be coming tonight, dancing? Yeah.
Do some crowd surfing. We have a finalist here. How are you, Mohammed? Feeling okay? You nervous? Yeah?
You look sharp. And you guys were sharp up there.
Good for you. Right on.
You know what? Came through. Absolutely. Let's see here.
Got
Matt, it's more nerve-wracking to watch the presentations than to actually present in them. I'd have to agree, actually.
We know how you feel, Matt.
Oh,
Why do we
yeah.
know how he feels? Tell him.
I don't know. Why don't you tell me why I know how he
Because
feels?
Team 9 was presenting, and they're our teammates.
Are
and
they?
didn't
But we,
get friends.
again, blind competition, Donish.
These are all friends. It's the
Are
judges
we?
who have to be blind.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yes, no. When I see people that I recognize presenting, my heart definitely stops. I hold my breath, and the nerves really get to me. But They made us proud, every single one of the presentations from the 20 different teams from across North America and internationally. And we're pretty impressed.
So we're about to lose one of our biggest Twitter supporters, Cal Jackson, whose phone's about to die. Sorry to hear about that, Cal.
Cal, you're just blowing up Twitter. You blame me, but I feel like you're refreshing every 30 seconds or so, no? Yeah, I understand. Twitter's like a drug. On the 3rd floor, there will be a Twitter support group that will help Cal and the others who are addicted. You know who you are, and they will wean you off the Twitter. Isn't Amber doing a great job of timekeeping? Fabulous job. Little round of applause for Amber. Very well done. You're always on time.
For our friends from Alberta, Montreal, Florida, thanks for joining us on the live stream. Yeah, they're all here.
Yeah, to everybody in room, what is it, 226?
226, our overflow room.
The overflow room.
To all our
Excellent.
friends in the command center, thanks so much for your hard work. Wish you could have been here.
Absolutely. Have we lost our executive director? She's probably running around like a chicken with her head cut off. But she's fabulous, and she's put a lot of energy into today, so we're all very grateful. So far, so very good.
So we had a question from Twitter here. When are the results announced? The results are announced at the gala tonight.
And a shout out request to the Student Association. Again, the Student Association, what up? How you doing? Shout out.
Student association here consists of 3 people. They could have text messaged us. This is ridiculous. Alexander Koulis, our executive director, we love you too.
And you're welcome for everything. Let's see.
And we have a shout out here for Team 17 who's presenting next from Analia Davis. She's excited for the last presentation, but these next 15 minutes are going to be killing her. Well, that's what we're here for while you're on the live stream, because we're hilarious.
Is this thing on?
Is it hot in here?
Is it hot in here? Oh. Are you trying on your new t-shirt or long sleeve? Feel free to stand up, take a little spin. Wow. The very short RRUIUCC. So glad we have shortened that. I got a shout out request from Christy from Vancouver. Hi, Christy. She wishes every competitor very well, so good luck from Christy from Vancouver.
Donna, I always want to say something when you walk into a room. See, you dig your own grave. Now, I mean, say something hilarious, please.
Say something on the spot? Well, no. I can tell you.
You're so funny.
You know what? Let's bring this guy a mic. You know what? He's got a lot of fabulous things to say. You know, I will follow you around. Don, if you have one statement for everybody in the room, what would it be? And be careful, keep it PG. We're live streaming.
I would have to say that I've seen some absolutely marvelous presentations today and throughout the program. And normally I would try to make a joke of that, but this is no joke. This has been a really fantastic a case competition. And I have to say that today particularly, a couple of them, fantastic. I know that during the week, we were fantastic. Okay, we didn't make it, but you know, everybody was great. So I have to say that I hope all of you, for those of you who are participating and are in the room or seeing us on stream, please, remember that this is probably one of the experiences of your lifetime. You will remember this as you go into the boardrooms in your career. You will remember this as you go through, and more than just for the actual skills you learned, but for the camaraderie and the networking that you've done. So I want to congratulate everybody because I've had a great time.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don. We asked for a statement, one short sentence, but that's okay. Just kidding. Thanks, Don. That's very sweet. And you know what? It's true. It's so, it seems so cheesy, the whole, you're all winners. But you know what? Looking around, there's some pretty incredible people in the room and so intelligent and very charming, some of you. And it's pretty impressive for you to all be here and seeing so many passionate, driven young people. So be proud, have a look around, and you may see some of these people in a boardroom in a few years. Who knows?
So the coach for Team 17 he's sweating, he's red. It's okay, coach. Take your jacket off. Show everyone the stains. You're good. You changed. You changed. That's why you are a case comp Jedi.
We have a shout out from Lauren. She just wanted to thank all of the judges. There was over 50 businesses and different professionals that volunteered their time and represented a great face behind the judging panel. And I think we can all appreciate the feedback, constructive, terrifying, whatever it was. Even I was scared, and I was sitting in the audience.
Absolutely.
You start to cringe, like you can't help but cringe sometimes, really.
My favorite part is the Q&A.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because the Q&A is when you can really tell if someone believes in their solution or not.
Absolutely. I'd agree.
You guys did. I know.
Really? No, I'm kidding.
I guess we should also thank some of our faculty, board members, and some of our admin who's here. Hi, Lois.
Hi. Is everybody excited for the gala tonight? Ironing the dress shirts, prepping the heels, taping the feet. I'm ready to throw away my heels and never wear them ever again. I'm not going to lie. I got a second in the back there. Yeah, Lindsay agrees. Very true.
So for those of you on live stream, we should be starting in about 10 minutes here.
Probably less, right? No?
Hopefully.
Hopefully less.
Yeah.
Welcome back. On to our 7th cup of coffee, some of us. Darren, Amy, welcome back into the room. James, always a pleasure. Matthew Tancon, your lights are on in your car. We got another tweet from Annaleah Davis. I may have butchered your name, but she wanted to thank Donish for correctly pronouncing her name. So, well done for that.
You're welcome. When you have a name like mine, you try pronouncing other people's correctly.
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. Well, just wave into the live feed, perhaps even. Yeah, there's a camera right behind you.
So,
John's hands are there, waving away.
so Analia, your professor wants to personally thank you for your support and for tweeting at him. You're gonna thank her for me. Oh, no need for that.
Thank her for. Oh. So we're thanking for a thank you when she thanked him for thanking her.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
A bit confused, but thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for thanking me, for thanking you, for thanking him, for thanking Analia, who thanked him originally for the thank you. Okay. Now I'm really confused.
We're all good? Can you tell he's an academic? It is almost like we're trying to raise funds. For 99 cents a day, you can sponsor a child like this.
Is that all I'm worth? 99 cents? Don't answer that.
Stop.
Please, for the love of God, don't answer that. Wait, are these the results? First place.
Are they leaving the scores here?
Whoa. How did this happen? Somebody's getting fired because I just saw who won. Just kidding. Don't worry, Amber. She just had a coronary. The big vein in her neck just popped, and now she's going to seize out. No, he's good. Mr. Popular over here has 19 new text messages. Wow. Ladies from around the world, settle down, Florida. Shocking. Wow. And this just in, we will be starting soon. This just in. So again, for the final time, we just want to remind everybody to have their phones on silent, please, and we will begin shortly. Daryl and Greg, are you going to usher in the judges for one final time? Oh, you have. Oh, you're like Superman. You went so fast and you returned to your seat. I didn't even see it happen.
Kelsey, we have a tweet here from CMonkey83. I don't know how seriously to take this. Can we get a little thriller? Oh. So for any of you who were at the social on Thursday, me and Kelsey got a little bit ridiculous and did like
Along
a choreographed
with
dance.
two others. And you know what? I will absolutely do the thriller if the other gentleman that joined us comes up on stage. Matt, would you join us for a little thriller?
Well, I'm out of this one. Should we save that for tonight when no one's going to remember what we did?
Oh, please. Yes, okay. For those of you watching at home, you're welcome. We just saved you from something that would have been awful. You did not want to see that.
We have a tweet here from Christine Delgado who wants to wish team number 17 the best of luck. Lawrence Kettlewell here is looking forward to the last presentation.
What is that insinuating?
I don't know. You might be tired.
I could keep going for another couple hours, but
I don't think they can
no.
do us for a few more hours.
Yeah.
But
Thanks for the applause, Pat. I appreciate it. Cal still has battery in his phone, but he's removed himself from this room, but he's still crazy on Twitter. So he's still with us in presence.
And he's about to start drinking beer. This should get interesting.
Yes, he is. So these tweets are going to have more misspelling and poor punctuation. Yep. And Greg is exiting the room, looking fine in his purple. He may or may not return with the judges in tow. Let's see what happens.
Right on.
So I'd like to welcome back to the room one judge and one judge only at this point.
We just want to give a quick shout out to Team 17 here, who has a live feed going at their university. Apparently there's more than 100 people there. Welcome and thanks for joining
From
us.
Team 17. Welcome back, judges.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if we can just have all of your cell phones off, on silent, and we'll proceed with our presentations, yeah?
Yep, please be seated. Everybody settle down, and we will begin promptly, and that way everything can remain on time.
Hello. Good to see you. Welcome. Looking forward to it. Hey. Hello there. Welcome. Hey. Good to see you. Hello. Good to see you again.
Hello, Team 17. I'd like to remind you that the presentation is a maximum of 20 minutes today. There will be a visual warning with 5 minutes remaining, which is a blue card held up by Amber in the front row there, and a 1 minute, which is a red card, followed by a 10-minute Q&A, which there will be a verbal warning with 1 minute remaining. After the presentation has been over and the Q&A is done, the judges will leave and the presentations will be over. There is a clicker on the podium, and you may begin when you are ready. Amber, are we good with the time?
Yep.
Excellent.
Traditions. They're those things that hold families together. They are the silly things teams do, sports teams, before they go on to help them win. And for Mmxiii and Beiersdorf, they are the things that have kept them the company that they are for 100 years. But today, Beiersdorf faces a new challenge when it comes to its brand, Mmxiii. How do we keep our traditions, keep our values, but still move ourselves forward in a market that is so difficult and so saturated, and with all these new challenges we have, especially with the big competitors. Good afternoon. My name is Alice Sykes, and these are my colleagues, John Bryan, Anya Petrova, and Stephen Howard. We are coming to you, the board of Beiersdorf, with request of our CEO to speak to you about what your strategy should be as you move forward to continue the traditions and the success of the past 100 years. As we speak today, we will cover these three main questions. Was Beiersdorf's restructuring approach the right strategy? How can Beiersdorf maintain our position in Europe? And how can Beiersdorf balance profitability with local responsiveness? Our recommendation, we've branded in this way. The first, we want to remind Beiersdorf, with relation to Mmxiii, to stay who we are, while also carefully planning the strategies for where we will go. As we speak, we'll go through an analysis of the situation, then go into that strategy, staying who we are, while planning where we go, talking about the financials and how this is a wise financial decision for the board, and then finally conclude.
look at where Nivea, the brand, stands within this global market. Nivea is the global leader, and Beiersdorf is in hand and skincare. The brand itself has been loved for hundreds of years. That blue can is well known, well recognized, and well accepted in the family, so there are lots of familial commitments to this brand. Although we lead in hand and skincare, there are plenty of opportunities when it comes to the other sectors that this brand is currently in, but there are difficulties as those markets are heavily saturated with other products that are very similar, especially on the shelves. To put a new product on is very difficult and often requires taking another product off. Beiersdorf and Nivea functions around these 4 core competencies and has for its whole history. The first being innovation. Beiersdorf himself was the first to create a stable emulsion that could be shipped around the world. They're also known for their development, a strong R&D that is only moving forward, especially with the brand new facility that we have just purchased. We're known for resilience, especially after World War II, being able to regain the patents that we lost in other countries. And finally, tradition. The company itself holds to strong family values, trust, reliability, honesty, all of those things. And those are the things that we have to focus on and remember as we move forward into the next, hopefully, and the way we plan it, 100 years. Now, my colleague Anya Petrova will tell you about the first part of our strategy, staying who we are.
At the beginning of our strategy, I'd like to go back to that first question. Was restructuring the right option? We believe it was the right option because it is really important for us to move into these new regions and get this focus of moving into new emerging markets and having the opportunity to diversify our product range. But again, it was also confusing for our employees as we had accepted an entirely new board of directors and a new CEO. And they were confused because they do not know these new CEOs and they've loved our old CEOs so well that we wanted to build a program so that they could better understand and have the opportunity to speak with these new employees, or these new board of directors and CEOs, so that we can all come together as one big company again and love every employee that we work with. So our idea was to come up with a meet the board approach where we were going to follow these board members and the CEO on a daily basis and get to know them personally, but through a network where all the employees will be able to watch them online. These videos we'll propose to put on YouTube and send out to all our employees so that our employees will get the chance to feel like they're on a personal one-to-one level with this new board of directors and CEO, so that when they do have the opportunity to meet them in person, that they are able to speak to them about common interests and things like that. So also we'd like to focus on these regional developments as we spoke about earlier. We're going to utilize our existing employees and give them surveys so that those employees that have those very rich cultural backgrounds can be able to give us new ideas into specifically what type of products would work in these new regions that we are going to be moving into. This is our broad strategy. We want to maintain our growth in the European markets, but also maintain our position in the European markets, but also grow into new markets and new products. This is the overall strategy that we have come up with. We'd like to focus mainly on this European market as to maintain what we have already established as our position in this market, but also to focus on these new growth opportunities. And how are we going to do this? Well, we have a general overview of the main points that we need to focus on, and that is to bring in these victors of our winning products and how can we use these winning products in new regions. Using winning products in specific regions will give us the opportunity to phase out those products that aren't doing well in specific markets or regions and really bring in that new opportunity to have new products such as face bleaching products maybe in Asia, or utilize that same concept in Brazil. We want to use this in mature markets as well as developing markets by focusing our product range on specific products that work for these mature markets as well as the new markets. I'm going to hand it off to John to speak more about this strategy.
Thank you, Anya. Actually, if I could go back one slide real quick. Just to make sure you have a full understanding of the grading we have, our global strategy is going to highlight developing and mature markets, but we're going to use this as an example going forward, Asia as the fastest growing market, and then Europe as a market we must maintain. we're going to lay out in both mature and developing markets strategies that allow us to kind of, we call it the extremes inform the mean, such that our strategies for mature markets and developing markets can be applied to markets in between, like North America, emerging markets in Africa, and the Middle East. To begin with, how are we going to stay consolidated in Europe? Because if we get flanked in Europe, it's game over. To begin with, we're going to have this program called As European as You. The strategy here is we're going to connect our long brand heritage, our history, with the traditional European experience. For example, Suncare will have an ad. This is going to be print media, bus ads. We have that costed later. We're going to have Suncare. We'll capture the experience of the French Riviera. For hand and body, skiers on the Swiss Alps. For facial care, we envision having like an old man shaving, and then in the background you can see Big Ben. And then for for hair care, we envision having a flamenco dancer in Spain, just to show that we have a distinctly European brand that can connect with people in all age groups and all range of experience. Our developing strategy is the other end of that spectrum that Anya mentioned before. What we want to do here is move from what we call developed to less developed markets within these regions. We affirm that having separate regional strategies makes sense. But within those regions, it's important to recognize that it might be easier to move to Malaysia first and then go to Indonesia. We've been in Thailand since before World War II. The Burma market has just opened up. It only makes sense for us to follow policy at the sub-regional level that is developed to less developed. That said, we also want to further localize our products. We want to have across the board, across the developing market scheme, products, if they're skin whitening or whatever, that if it's the same product and just rebranded, we don't manufacture them differently. We don't use anything different if they don't have to be. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Furthermore, for flexibility, we'd like our regional managers, our regional advisors to explore additional options for flexibility. When we went into China, I know that's probably a sore taste in everyone's mouth, we just effectively tossed €250 million at one market because it's 5.8% growth. What we want to do with the Asian market, as an example, for developing markets, is pursue additional flexibility options and pursue growth across multiple nations, multiple markets, rather than just going for the fastest growing and the shiny prize, so to speak. That's why we have M&As and joint ventures as one of our compatibility and flexibility possibilities. Subsidiary autonomy, we want our local subsidiaries to have the strategic ability to take advantage of their local knowledge. And then we want to also partner with local firms and retailers. This is more to address emerging markets in areas that are hard to access, like the Middle East. Our Middle East penetration is 1.5%, 1.8%, and that's unacceptable for the VIA. Finally, what does this mean to our timeline? Because our strategy is very broad, and because we're showing core concepts that can be applied across the entire spectrum of every market, what we want to do instead is show this is where the EU campaign begins. We're going to have the Twitter handle, hashtag EU as you. There's going to be a whole promotional area there, as I mentioned before, and we're going to standardize our product line across the developing markets and across our markets so that we don't have separate facilities making the same product, just labeling it differently, without having some sort of overarching strategy. We're going to have regional 5-year plans, and this is our faith has been placed in our restructuring in our regional managers and those that manage regions, and we want to make sure that they have the strategic capability to do so. We're also going to, for our example purposes, discuss Asian investment options across the entire Asian market rather than throwing $250 million in just to China. Instead, for our financials, as Steve will discuss in a second, we're throwing we're evenly spreading $200 million euros across the entire Asian Pacific market, because it makes more sense that we should go for fast growth areas in India or Sri Lanka or Thailand or whatever. And we believe that Asia represents one of the best possibilities, because if you take India, Indonesia, and China, just those 3 countries together, those 3 developing markets, that's 6 billion hands to moisturize. Think about that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Stephen Howard, who's going to talk about the financials.
So now that we've laid out the strategy to you, it's important for you to understand the financial implications of said strategy. I'd like to start off with a few financial assumptions that we made in our projections for our 5-year plan, or for our 5-year projection rather. To begin, the growth that we expect to see in Europe and in in Asia is the same as the growth that we see the market having, so anywhere between 3 and 5% currently. Our cost of goods sold is 35%, which is similar to the cost of goods sold for your company at the moment. And our marketing budget, which we have decided is going to be elaborate, intricate, and reaching down to Europe and Asia on a deep level, is going to be $60 million investments. So over a 3-year period is $20 million per year. And the infrastructure costs associated with bringing our strategy to Asia in a more significant way is going to be 200 million euros. So not throwing it, as John said, but investing it. Now, to give you a 5-year picture of what the revenues and costs are going to be for this add-on strategy that we've created for you, you can see that the revenues for Asia and Europe are listed here, which is going to be almost $1 billion for this 5-year period. The costs associated with this strategy are, again, marketing, like we discussed, infrastructure, and cost of goods sold, to give you a total operating income for this 5-year period of $387 million. And lastly, we calculated net present value using a 10% weighted average cost of capital to 206 million euros. And that is assuming that the infrastructure that we're going to invest in at the beginning is 200 million upfront, and then we can have the cash flows that we're expecting positively moving forward. But importantly, we know that this strategy involves risks, as every strategy does. And we determined that the probability of this strategy succeeding is 80%. However, what happens if the strategy doesn't pull through? What's the backup plan? What's the safety net? Our team determined that if in year 3 we're not seeing the projected growth in Asia and Europe that we've been expecting for our projections, we're going to pull those resources out of Asia, sort of cut our losses per se in terms of trying to develop them further, and start focusing on those mid-range regions like we talked about, so North America, the Middle East, South America, where we still have a strong presence, but we can double down a little bit on our strategy there to make sure that we have a diversified revenue stream moving forward. And lastly, now here's Alice with our conclusion.
So before I begin to wrap up what we said today, I'd like to ask you, the board, and the viewers, our employees, to think about that one value that you hold the dearest when it relates to Beiersdorf, this company. Do you have it? Well, now that you have it, whether that be family, whether that be trustworthiness, whether that be tradition or reliability, I'd like to explain to you how we have answered these key questions in a way that allows you and us as employees of this company to walk forward into the next 100 years while still retaining those traditions and values, and at the same time gaining profit and gaining market share. So we've looked first today at, was Beiersdorf restructuring approach the right idea? And we do believe it was a good idea, but maybe poorly executed in the way, especially that it was portrayed to the employees of the company. They don't understand who has joined the new board, who is the new leader, and the old CEO was well loved. We've explained an internal marketing campaign to build the consensus of the employees so they accept the plans that you have made to bring this company forward. We've also talked about how Beiersdorf can maintain their position in Europe, and that's through the part of our strategy staying who we are. It relates to all tradition, but also to Europe, with this marketing campaign that will reinforce the fact that Nivea has been a European brand for 100 years, and that we are just as European as you are. And finally, we have explained how Nivea can balance profitability with local responsiveness by, one, going back to the restructuring and the employees, taking the surveys of those employees and asking them, you're from India, but you live here in London and work for us. What does your family in India need for their skincare, hand care, face care needs? And by, as John so clearly explained, we can focus on those developing markets and then also on maintaining Europe and being able to be responsive locally by changing the strategy and moving it along that range. So if we have the developing, but we also have the maintaining, you can mix and match as we go, and we focus on the other markets. It's a big strategy that can be changed and moved into everywhere that Beiersdorf is, Nivea wants to go and wants to be successful. Thank you for your time. We hope we've addressed the issues that you brought to us and would be glad to answer any questions.
So once again, Team 17, there will be a 10-minute Q&A with a 1-minute verbal warning. You may begin.
I'm the new CEO. It's my first day on the job, and I'm going into an angry mob of shareholders, employees, and with a new management team. Please give me something other than YouTube and Twitter. I need to know what to tell them I'm going to do to write the laundry list of problems that we're facing.
If we could go back to that slide that's got the gradient there, which is way back, I would tell the shareholders that we've decided not to adopt a one-size-fits-all global strategy, as nice as that might sound, but instead we decided to adopt a modular strategy that takes into account the specific needs of each market.
So how are you going to fix what's wrong in Europe when it's economic malaise?
We don't believe that Nivea needs to solve the euro crisis.
Then how are you going to fix what's wrong in China when we're hemorrhaging cash?
In China, we did discuss that was a mistake. And what we've decided to do as an action to combat problems like
So
that...
are you going to exit China?
We're not saying we should exit China, but we're saying that despite China looking like the best prize with 5.8% growth and 10% in hair care and all these other things...
So what are you going to do in China?
We're going to diversify across Asia so we're not exposed to any one national risk. In China, we mentioned joint ventures as an option for flexibility. Traditionally, firms, if they pursue joint ventures, won't have the same problem we had, where we showed up, we thought we had a good brand that we acquired, and then we lost our shirt.
There's something you just touched on that I think is really important for me, and that is we've spent the $250 million in China already, and we couldn't crack that nut. And now what we're going to do is spend less money, and we're going to expand that geographic region and become more effective at it with $200 million. We're going from Middle East all the way to Japan down to Sri Lanka, right? And we're going to spend less money, and we're going to be more effective.
Well, no, not necessarily, because we're focusing our efforts on Europe and Asia markets, because we believe that if we focus on these specific regions and push the products that these regions are asking for, then we can phase out those products that aren't working in those specific markets. So then we can be able to use our funds and resources.
You made me believe in the presentation that we were going to find spots as far south of Sri Lanka, as far east or west to the Middle East. We're going to find pockets where we're going to be more accepted.
We do want to utilize these new smaller markets where we can grow our market share, but we'd like to focus our main efforts, 80% of our efforts, on really maintaining our growth and using and finding these new products in the specific regions, so that, well, overall we would be moving into these new markets and these new regions, but we'd like to focus on our bigger regions and our bigger focuses so that we can phase out products that aren't working well there and use that to move into the new markets.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Can I just go back to the financial analysis you had near the end? I think you mentioned you'd use a 10% weighted average cost of capital. Can you provide me with a rationale?
The weighted average cost of capital was just a basic assumption that we determined. We figured that Nivea's weighted average cost of capital would be anywhere between 8 and 12%. So for consistency and conservativeness, we said 10% would be the rate.
Okay. I probably disagree, but I'd be interested in what the difference would be if it were, let's say, 4 or 5% weighted average cost of capital. But then you have to recalculate it, so I'll pass on. Thank you.
I've got some HR issues. I got employees who are not really happy with me, and you want me to put videos on YouTube which are publicly viewable. I can't say I'm not a little concerned. What do you think the risk of a smear campaign is going to be with all of these videos sitting out in the public domain?
I'd like to address that. YouTube you can actually set so that only people with the link or with the an access can view it. It doesn't have to be public.
Define an access.
I believe it's either having a password or having the right email to be able to see the video at all.
Wouldn't it be easier just to provision an internal product to do it?
YouTube was our answer because it is a established platform. There are no setup costs to go onto YouTube, and it is private enough for the company to be able
Thank
to
you.
use.
The next question is, I've got employees that are chomping at the gate. They think we're basically incompetent, which I've been hired to fix by the sounds of it. How am I going to inspire them to think that we're not incompetent? Let's assume I like the strategy. How would I portray that to them?
To inspire confidence, our belief as a team was that Mmxiii needs a quick win. We need moral victories, and moving forward, if we cut 7% of the workforce, it probably should be done with a better explanation. So to give those people...
So hold on a second. I like your contention, but are we cutting more?
No, we're not saying we should cut more people.
Okay.
But we're saying if we do, if that's something that you decide later on, it should be handled better.
Define handling better. Very interesting. Define handling better.
I can address it.
Yeah, our HR
Please,
person.
thank you.
There's an idea when it comes to dealing with employees, with large groups, with teams, and that is having to build a consensus. So the idea that you as boards and you as a CEO have a good idea that is a little volatile, is a little hard to understand. So you go with them, make them think that it's theirs. That is the idea with the survey. So if you're going to go into
That sounds like the inmates running the institution.
Not at all. Not at all. I'll give an example. You are going to introduce a new product. You have an idea, it's well researched.
I agree with you, but I have to fix this place, and I have to fix it
Right now.
fast. I've got people that are chomping at me. I got markets that are chomping at me. How do I inspire confidence fast?
Now that we don't have to worry about the personnel and how they feel.
I like it.
Our approach would be, we have this beautiful gradient and this test bed for things, but what we want to do to inspire confidence immediately is show that we have a strategy that isn't fragmented, that we have a global strategy, but that addresses the needs of each area. So there's some markets where the growth rate is 10% and we have very small market share. I mentioned before that we have 1.8% market share across like all 4 categories or less in the Middle East. I don't understand.
No, it's very good. Thank
So,
you. Thank you
yeah.
so much. Greg.
So you're moving into developing markets, and you're coming in late because the markets are plugged with skincare products already in all these. There's no magic vacuum in Indonesia or no magical vacuum in Brazil. They're all plugged with P&G and Johnson & Johnson products plus local products and natural products. It's plugged. Market's plugged because it's an old technology. Explain to me, as a late arrival into a developing market, how you plan to fracture the market and create dominant market share before bailing out and trying somewhere else. What about one of you two guys? Any insights? It's a positioning question.
So, to answer your question, it's not that we're not already in Asia or any of those developing areas in the region, but we're trying to leverage our core competencies so that we can ensure that we bring the message to the consumer that we have a time-tested product. I mean, J&J, P&G, they may be there, or they may not be yet, but we as Mmxiii are going to do what we can to ensure that.
Okay, let me interrupt. There's 100 people, 10 people are using your product, you want to get another 10. How do you convince those 10 people to switch out when there's 5, 10, 20 people battling for that mind share?
We have 100 years of experience in the skincare industry, so.
All right, thank you.
If I might add something, one thing that we have as part of our growth strategy is if you look at our financials, you know that most of our money that runs this company comes from the European market. That's where we're most profitable. As such, as part of our growth strategy, we're okay with not having the best margin if we're able to raise brand awareness or steal share. So on top of the fact that we can leverage our extensive history, we can also compete in other ways
You
to
have
do
1
that.
minute.
Such as what, quickly?
Okay, so let's say you mentioned Brazil, and let's say Procter & Gamble's already there. It's possible that we could run a promotion or something like that at the discretion of the South America, North America person that's the regional head because they have that strategic flexibility. They run a promotion to steal share, and they might do so in a way that they don't have the margins that we have over in Belgium or Europe.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, you have a second.
The company had a fairly recent reorg right at the top level, which I think was 3 regions and 2 functional areas. Does your plan have any effect on that organisation, or is it affected by that organisation, either adversely or well?
Our plan definitely leverages on the new reorganization. We agreed that it was a good idea to focus on those regions and on those different functions.
So you keep it?
So we keep it.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Team 17, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 4 presentations of the finals today. Now, the only thing left is to enjoy yourselves at the gala this evening. Just a reminder, in order to be able to fund consuming mass amounts of alcohol, please be aware that there is an ATM in one of the buildings to get cash out before you go to the Delta in Millward Building.
By the way, everyone, just to remind you again, the buses leave at 5:45 from the same spot they've been picking you up for the last 2 days. And if you don't know, now you know. Hello? Is this thing on?
Is this thing on?
Just want to say thank you to all the people who are watching at home on live stream. That's the end of it. Your teams appreciate your support. Thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you again.
Me and Kelsey will see you again.